Oj, coś tu kolegów dzisiaj nie ma. Ledwo powiedziałem i się Zmiglew pojawił. By co przekładać, to nie ma co przekładać chyba. I tak tam, że tak powiem, na wodzie będzie oglądane, ale po prostu tak zupełnie do próżni to się trochę nie chce ględzić. Ale to w takim razie pozwolę sobie jeszcze taką całkiem chwileczkę poczekać, czy się tutaj te wry pojawił albo ktoś. Zanim ruszymy solo. Trochę po to, żebym sobie mógł w spokoju dopić kawę. Póki sami siedzimy. Po części, że jak się skończy piosenka, to puszczę tą, która była pierwsza, którą actually bardziej chciałem kolegom puścić. Ale rozumiem, mówiąc o pusie piłkę w AWS-ie, to znaczy, że pan Bezos pierdolił, czy wasze ziomki, które miały dorobić soft wiszący w AWS-ie? No jak to mówią z niego, do 15 razy sztuka. Czasami trzeba wysłać 15 razy, żeby było zauważone i co? I zostało zauważone. Może nie wiadomo, o co chodzi. No elegancko. I ty to rozumiem, musisz teraz sprzątać wszystko. Ale tu właśnie jeszcze puszczam Halkali z debiutanckiego albumu Bacon. I jak dogra, to ruszamy. O, Winroli, witamy, dawno nie było. Dzisiaj troszeczkę się guzdramy, bo tak wszyscy się powoli coś schodzą. Włącznie ze mną. Ale za jedną pioseneczkę będziemy klikać. Znowu już co się działo. Powiedz mi, co z głównego plotu mniej więcej pamiętasz jako ostatnia rzecz, kiedy tu byłeś? To skorzystamy z tej chwili na szybki recap. Na pewno duży development, który cię ominął, to, że tajemniczy zabójca, czyli detektyw Tateno, konspirował z ojcem Achiego, żeby zamordować Hitomi i zabrać jej serce do przeszczepu dla siostry Achiego. I trochę to ujawnili i jest siara. Więc to jest jedna rzecz, która się zdarzyła i właśnie kiedy skończył się ostatni stream, to był wielki standoff na dachu Tateno i Shinikano. Minori Kawabiega tam z gazetą miał trochę kryzys wiary, ale tak wpadł na trop tej intrygi, powiedzmy, wirusowej. Kenji Osawa dostał absolutnego pierdolca, bo za 3 godziny chyba, czy już w tym momencie 2 godziny, wirus w krwi Mario całe dupnie i całe Tokio umrze, znaczy cała Shibuya umrze. Burmistrz nakłada blokady na Shibuya, tylko taką blokadę, nie blokadę, bo tam im prawie nie wolno, bo tam, o Jezu, co jeśli stan wojenny. Ale próbuje i trochę jest panika. Achi został ze 2 razy zamordowany w innych timeline'ach przez swoich dawnych funfli z gangu, ale wrócił do biegania dookoła. Tak, więc troszeczkę ciężko to podsumować, bo to jest taki ADHD symulator. Dobra. Za to ostatnią minutkę tylko szybko zniknę jeden telefon spłacić. Dobra, już tutaj wróciłem. Jeszcze co nie zdążyłem powiedzieć, a pomyślałem, Cool Agent Stanley miał anime walkę z Kanan w szpitalu. I chyba są tak troszeczkę on one page, tak buddy kopuje się agent CIA i arabska terrorystka. Jaci to widział, ale Achi nie uważał w szkole, więc nie umie po angielsku i w sumie nie wie, o co chodzi. Więc tak, co się dzieje za afrotypem z panem Yanagishito? Yanagishity dawno nie było. Yanagishito ostatni raz się pojawiał jak kombinował z konkursem jedzenia za pieniądze. Ale tak, obawiam się, że będziesz wejść w archiwa na YouTubie, bo... O Boże, nie! Czemu Kenji ze wszystkich rzeczy, które mogły się alt-tabując wcisnąć? I najważniejszy development, mój drogi Finroli, że zakończyliśmy plotline kotka, zwanego też Mario Osałą. Już nigdy więcej nie będzie playable. I odzyskała wszystkie swoje wspomnienia. Głównie te, kiedy uczyła się kung fu od Kanan w okupowanym Iraku. Ale no właśnie jakby pełny powrót tych wspomnień nastąpił podczas konfrontacji zakładniczej i stwierdziła, że teraz ona już rozumie cały plot i musi wrócić do tego miejsca, czymkolwiek jest to miejsce. I też to jest ważne dla plotu, że generalnie Kanan przyjechała do Japonii złapać Masterminda, spiknęła się z Marią. Ej Maria, będzie wiesz ten wielki plot tutaj, wirus porywamy Hitomi. I ponieważ są bliźniaczkami, to poszło na imprezę zamiast Hitomi, żeby ją porwali. I w tym naszyjniku, który chciała mieć, był jej GPS tracker, żeby do miejsca porwania wbiła kanan i zajebała wszystkich przydupasów Masterminda, ale po prostu zgubiła po drodze ten dedajnik i gówno z tego planu wyszło. A moje kliknięcie w Kenjiego nawet nie było złe, bo został nam do skończenia tylko Kenji i Minorikawa. Minorikawa cofnął się do samego początku tej godziny po tych wszystkich zmianach timeline'u, więc hej, spróbujmy u niego. Minorikawa miał mały... jakby... jak tutaj jest nawet napisane, epizod depresyjny. Ale to chyba jest ściema. To jest chyba tak jak w poprzedniej godzinie z parę tych rzeczy, gdzie jest jakaś sekretna trzecia flaga i trzeba przeskakiwać do przodu w scence, która jest taka sama. You look tired, sir. Yeah, I guess so. His reply was barely audible. Co się w ogóle działo? Bo jechaliśmy z King Kongiem z tej sceny pobicia. Tak, gadaliśmy o eksplozji Vana, gdzie umarła prawa ręka Kenjiego Osały. Nie wiem, czy byłeś, kiedy eksplodował minivan. Nie pamiętam, dokąd jedziemy. Chyba do redakcji. A tak, i Minorikawa ma depresję, bo myśli, że w Vanie zginął łysy redaktor, ale tak naprawdę zginęła prawa ręka Kenjiego Osały i to jest kłopotliwe, bo Osawa i prawa ręka muszą razem dać odcisk palca, żeby wejść do laboratorium z odtrutką na wirusa. Co jest teraz niemożliwe, bo koleś był eksplodowany. I nie da się wjebać do laboratorium, chyba że Resident Evil Umbrella Corporation się całe zbierze, Rada Nadzorca przyklepie super specjalny tryb. Ale to też jest niemożliwe, ponieważ po pierwsze Luigi Mangione zajebał jednego z egzeków, który pojechał do Nowego Jorku. Znaczy to nie było powiedziane bezpośrednio, że Luigi Mangione, ale egzek Big Formy pojechał do Nowego Jorku i nie wrócił, więc jakby topisz sobie resztę. A po drugie, że Big Director jest jakby w pełnym evil modzie i już mieliśmy dwa bad endingi, w których Minorikawa i Osawa zostali zaciągnięci do sekretnego więzienia Umbrella Corporation. Więc ten tego. The taxi stopped outside of Heaven Publishing. The trip had taken 10 minutes on the dot. Thanks. Minorikawa left a 1,000 yen bill on the seat and exited the cab. Sir? The driver called after him. Minorikawa turned back around. Kimizuka was leaning out the window to point at him. It isn't called work because it's fun, sir. The day will be over soon enough. Just hang in there a little bit longer. The driver finished with a knowing grin. Minorikawa cracked a ghost of a smile. Maybe his spirits had been lifted just a tiny little bit. Thank you, he replied. You're a true friend of the working man. He waved half-heartedly, then headed into the building. Mr. Mino! Chiaki threw herself at him as soon as he opened the door to the editing office. News of the explosion was playing on the television. Minorikawa marched straight to his desk and opened up his laptop. While it booted up, he tried to get a handle on the current situation. Where are the folks from the loan company? He asked. They're in here, Chiaki said. I have them waiting downstairs. Do they know Toyama's dead? I'm sorry. I kind of let that slip. What about Hana? I'm not sure. I haven't heard from her since she called earlier. W ogóle Hana, się okazuje, pisze bardzo dobre wiersze które zauważyła Aya Kamiki, która miała cameo na ulicy i w przyszłości zostanie słynnym songwriterem. Ale żeby to się stało, to całe Takio nie może zginąć od uła wirusa, więc jeszcze musimy dograć grę. With a tiny sigh, Minorukawa started typing at his laptop. By some miracle, his 6 pages of the copy were nearly wrapped up. Still, he needed to do whatever it took to see this job through to the end. That would serve as his final tribute to Toyama's memory. He loaded his copy into the DTP software in order to set the layout. Bit by bit, actual magazine articles began to take shape. Then, the editing department door swung open. "Hey!" snarled the young man who barged in first. He kicked over a stack of books. "How long you gonna keep us waiting, huh?" "Honestly, Sagawa, must you be so rowdy?" A middle-aged man stepped in alongside him. "Are you Mr. Minorukawa then?" he added as his eyes fixed on the journalist. He held out his business card. "A pleasure to meet you. I'm Masao Ozu from Takarada Financing, a black market lending firm that offers loans at an interest rate above what the law allows. Well known for taking whatever steps necessary to collect what's owed. His business card slogan: got bad credit, but you need a loan? Call anytime. We'll put together a loan that suits your needs." My deepest sympathies about Mr. Toyama. However, I am afraid that we do need you to give us back the money we loaned. Despite his polite tone, the threat in his voice was plain. Look, next month's issue of 4-Star General Gossip is definitely coming out. Couldn't you please wait for repayment until we have the funds from those sales? Minorukawa asked. That was exactly what Toyama's plan had been, after all. Well, we certainly aren't monsters. If the magazine is going to be making you money, we won't mind delaying another month. You really mean it? Chiaki chirped. To clarify, that would be the case if Toyama were still alive. Releasing the next issue is all well and good, but with Toyama gone, so too is the company. That will make full repayment of what we're owed impossible, I expect. And what do you want us to do? Minorukawa asked coldly. How about we just cut to the chase? Growled the younger man, Sagawa. Dig out your ears and listen up. Zwróciłem uwagę, to jest Big Kotek machający łapką. Chiaki recoiled in a panic, and Minorukawa held up an interposing hand. Knock it off, he said. We're scaring the young lady. A thin smile came to Ozu's face. All we want is to know where Mr. Toyama's daughter is. Yeah, that's right, Tsugawa said. Tell us where the girl is. No way! No way! Chiaki squeaked in protest. Hana's just a little kid. She doesn't have any responsibility to pay back the... Ozu didn't let her finish. We're aware of that. Nevertheless, we'd still like to know where she is. The law didn't matter right now. Guys like this had all sorts of way of wringing money out of people. It was clear from the looks on their faces that Ozu and Sagawa had some wicked scheme up their sleeves. Unless, of course, you would prefer to take on Toyama's debts, Mr. Minorukawa. You're quite the accomplished reporter after all. Take on his debts, huh? Minorukawa didn't know how much Toyama had borrowed. It only took one look at these guys to tell him it was no small sum. How about it? Ozu asked. The way you lend scoop after scoop, I'm sure you'll be able to repay us in full before you die. Minorukawa fiercely returned his stare. Słuchajcie, zawdzięczamy nieco łysemu dyrektorowi, ale mimo wszystko chyba są jakieś granice. Ile altruizmu mieści się w jednym Minorikawie? Czyżbym musiał wyciągać kostkę? Rzucam kostką. 1-3 na B, ale wyszło 5, więc... Can't we just call it even? The two men stiffened. What was that? The older of the two demanded. Can't we just call it even? This time, Mirakawa spat the words out sharp and clear. The older fellow furrowed his brow, a vein pulsing visibly at his temple. You wanna say that one more time? He growled. Mirakawa cleared his throat. Call it even. The next thing Mirakawa knew, he'd been headbutted right between the eyes. An instant later, he was slammed bodily down onto the desk. You dumb bastard! He could vaguely hear the middle-aged man's voice ringing inside his head. That's when he lost consciousness. Mr. Mino! Someone was calling to him. Mr. Mino, wake up! Chiaki? He forced his eyelids back open. What happened? Here, could you please read this? Chiaki held out a printed draft of her article. How long had he been knocked out? A minute? No, maybe an hour? Are you awoke now, sir? The voice of the middle-aged thug intruded on his dazed mind. Looking around, Minorikawa saw the two men from Takarada Financing still there, casually seated on the sofa. He couldn't have been out for too long then. Nie mogę nie zauważyć, że ta kanapa zasłania możliwość otwarcia lodóweczki. W sumie pewnie lodóweczka jest na górze, na dole jest zamrażalnik na specjalne okazje. He couldn't have been out for too long then. We'll just wait here until you're inclined to take on this debt. Minorikawa's nose stung painfully. Please, can you read this? Chiaki repeated. It's my copy from those street interviews. I know even if the next month's issue gets released, it's not going to fix the debt problem. But still. I mean, I already wrote it and all. Nodding silently, Minorikawa took hold of the copy. She was right. This wasn't going to help with the debt situation. But when a professional took on a job, he saw it through to the end. Minorikawa gave it a quick once-over. He saw immediately that the piece was lacking in structure. He then read the article a second time, checking the finer details. Several off-theme sentences jumped out at him. This is no good. Rewrite it. He thrust the printout back at Chiaki. Yes, sir. She bowed her head and retreated to another desk. The TV was still on. A news broadcaster's voice suddenly broke through the silence, as well as Minorikawa's concentration. You're live on the scene now, where an explosion in Shibuya has... Benis! Tak było, drogi kolego, tak było. Minorikawa gazed blankly at the screen. He found his mind drifting to a particular memory of Toyama. The door looked like it might fall apart at any moment, but Minorikawa didn't care. He pounded on it as hard as he could. The Toyama nameplate popped off and fell off to the floor. It was hard to believe this dilapidated apartment was the home of a newspaper editor who'd worked his way up from a reporter. Hey, Toyama! Get your ass out here! At the sound of Minorikawa's angry shouting, other tenants on the floor poked their heads out of their rooms to stare. He paid them no heed, continuing to call out. Eventually, Toyama opened the door, dressed in his sweats and undershirt. "Quiet down, you moron!" he snapped. "Come on in." He tendered your letter of resignation at the paper." Mirkawa sat cross-legged on the tatami-covered floor. "Tell me why." Toyama quirked a lopsided grin. "You wanna know why I quit, huh? Alright." Leaning close, Minorikawa peered at him dubiously. "Huh? Why?" "I don't want anyone overhearing this." Resigned, Minorikawa leaned forward and turned his right ear toward Toyama. The man's warm breath against his cheek was pretty unsettling. At first he had trouble concentrating on Toyama's story. When the older man got to the crux of the matter, he found himself listening with rapt attention. By the time Toyama finished, Minorikawa was unable to suppress his shock. You're starting your own publishing company? Not so loud, damn it!" Toyama shut him with a finger to his lips. He looked around warily, as if there might be spies in his own apartment. "Right, but a publishing company?" Minorikawa said again, more quietly this time. "What are you doing for your distributor account?" All booksellers were required to use a wholesale distributor to circulate their publications. To do business with such a distributor, a publisher needed a specialized distributor account. You're not going to let a company with no track record open a new account with a distributor. I'm sure you must realize that." Toyama grinned, a proud gleam in his eyes. "I know. That's why I bought one." "You bought one?" "A ghost account, belonging to a publisher that went bankrupt. Distributor accounts could go for tens of millions of yen. There was no way Toyama could afford that on his severance pay alone. He must have taken out a loan in order to make the purchase. But the publishing industry was in a slump nowadays. People just weren't buying books much anymore. Starting up a new publishing company was a beyond risky endeavor. And I've already decided on a name for my company, Minorikawa." Toyama's face was positively beaming. "Get this. Heaven Publishing." "Heaven? That sounds fatalistic." The idea is that the people who work for me will feel like they're in paradise. For all his fetching about keeping quiet, Toyama was now exclaiming pretty loudly himself. "I mean, I can appreciate your willingness to take the risk, but surely your wife must have had objections," Minorikawa said. Toyama fell silent. He went and opened up the refrigerator. Minorikawa took a peek inside. Tak, to nie wygląda na mieszkanie człowieka z żoną. Its shelves were mournfully spare, holding little besides beer cans and drinking snacks. "The missus left me. Took her daughter with her." "She took the kid, Ryo. She took the kids." The scant few words painted the picture clearly enough. Toyama grabbed a can of beer and tossed it to his guest. "But no more sob stories," he went on. He briskly cracked open his own can of beer. Weak foam bubbled from the top. "Cheers, Minorikawa. Heaven Publishing's big debut." He'd cast everything aside and was striving for a new beginning. If the man had braced himself for the challenge, it wasn't Minorikawa's place to tell him he was making a mistake. Even if it was an uphill battle, he had little chance of winning. "Congrats, Mr. Toyama." Minorikawa pulled the tab on his beer can. "Cheers!" The two of them clapped their cans together. One year had passed since Toyama founded Heaven Publishing. Większość przedsiębiorstw zawija się w ciągu pierwszych 2 lat działalności. Prawdziwy lore. Miruka poked his head into the editing office, a bag from the convenience store in hand. Hey boss, how's business? How does it look like it's doing? Yamasata amidst a veritable mountain of returned stock, his expression bleak. Returned stock. Bookstores do not purchase the books they sell, but rather take them on consignment. This allows them to return to the publisher any books that do not sell. The books were all bulky, non-fiction tomes, not exactly the sort to fly off the shelves. The man couldn't even muster a smile for the reunion. It's been like this for every non-fiction book we've put out. Wow, starting right off with the bleak stuff, huh? Because things are bleak. The only thing that's selling is this gossip rag of ours. Mirka pulled some beer cans from his bag, handing one to Toyama. Toyama lifted an issue of 4-star general gossip from atop his desk. It was Heaven Publishing's one breadwinner, the only thing keeping the company afloat. But the gossip now seemed like it was buried in the red of the publisher's non-fiction releases. I really did have higher aspiration than this, Toyama sighed, gazing in disappointment at the piles of unsold books. But here we are, with our gossip magazine as our only viable publication. The beleaguered bookseller chugged his beer. Daddy, I'm hungry. Mirka was startled to hear a young child's voice. He turned around to see a little girl nestled between the stacks of returned stock. That's my daughter, Hana, Toyama said. It's complicated, but she's living with me now. I see. Mirka couldn't press for more details with Hana right there. In all likelihood, things with Toyama's ex-wife hadn't been going well. Go on, introduce yourself, Toyama said. This is one of Daddy's work friends. Hana turned to Minorikawa with a bright little grin. Hello, my name's Hana. I'm 6. You want some of this? Minorikawa held out a packet of dried squid he'd bought to go with the beers. Sure. Hana greedily stuffed her cheeks with the squid. Toyama flashed a sheepish grin. Do you like living with your daddy, Hana? Minorikawa asked, giving the girl's hair a gentle ruffle. Uh-huh, I do. My daddy's amazing. He runs a company. Toyama let out a tiny, involuntary sob at his daughter's ready praise. I'll keep at it, Toyama said, looking into his daughter's smiling face. Hana is more important to me than any high aspirations I might have had. I'll keep shoveling out copies of the gossip, and at least make sure she's always got something good to eat. Daddy, this is really tasty. Hana held up the pouch of dried squid. Tears welled in Toyama's eyes. Next time, I'll make sure she has some sashimi instead of something like this. Hey, what do you mean something like this? Minorikawa grumbled. I'm the one who brought it. Toyama and his daughter laughed together. It was a heartwarming sight, Minorikawa thought. A father and his girl getting along so well. Toyama might have been a hard-hitting journalist, but when he came home at the end of the day, he was just daddy. It was only natural for the man, as a father, to put his child above anything else. After gorging herself on snacks, Hana fell asleep on the sofa, looking well and truly satisfied. You know, Minorikawa, Hana's happiness means more to me than my lofty artistic ideals ever could. Toyama kept his voice low, as he regarded his daughter's sleeping face. And from that day forward, Heaven Publishing had shifted its focus to scandal rags, with 4-star general gossip as its pillar. that been for good or for ill? Whatever the case, Toyama had abandoned his pride. Mirukawa had watched him become more and more of a miserable wretch. Mirukawa snapped back into the present as a sheaf of pages appeared in front of his face. "Here you go," Chiaki said, radiating anxiety. Right. Mirukawa gave her copy a close read-over, and thrust it back out to her. "What did you even fix?" he asked. Could you please tell me what parts are wrong?" she mumbled, hanging her head. "What are you talking about?" "It's just, well, we don't have a lot of time here, so I figure if I just fix the parts that need fixing." Chiaki trailed off into an indistinct mutter. "Is that always how you go about fixing your copy?" Yes." "Then you're never going to get any better. If someone tells you it's no good, you rewrite the whole thing from scratch. Just making fiddly tweaks here and there is what an amateur does." Chiaki dipped her head even deeper, cringing at the reprimand. Mirukawa let out a tiny sigh. "Look, I just told you. That's what Toyama told me when I was first starting out. There were times he'd have me do dozens of rewrites. At first, I thought he was just pushing me around. But after rewriting things over and over, I realized something. There are a whole lot of ways you can write about the same thing. And that's what helped me hone my skills as a writer." Chiaki raised her head back up. "Oh, wow, really? If you can get that, then stick with it. Write your submission deadline as close as you have to, in order to write the best piece you can." "Okay, I can do it. I will do it." Finally, Chiaki's face brightened with a smile. "That's the spirit." The woman might have talent, but she hadn't realized it yet. She needed to be able to stick to an assignment, even when things got tough. If she didn't have that kind of resolve, she'd never make it as a freelancer. "Oh, how touching," Ozu chimed in, applauding. I'm almost moved to tears. They'll make a movie of this for sure. See, we had only been acquainted with that sad sap Toyama. We never knew there was such an upstanding fellow here who was so good at tough love." Mirukawa shot to his feet and pounded his fist on the desk. "That's about enough from the peanut gallery." "Hold your tongue," Sagawa snarled. His eyes shone with a vicious gleam. "We're getting sick of waiting here." "Sagawa, you really are a short-tempered guy, aren't you?" Ozu clucked disapprovingly at his underling, then slid a sheet of paper into Mirukawa's desk. "Nevertheless, I'm afraid we do require a decision now. If you'll just stamp here, we'll be on our way." Chiaki stared down at the document. "Is this a bond of recognizance?" "Yeah, that's right. That's what you write when transferring a debt." Sagawa puffed himself up proudly. Mirukawa silently looked over the contract. "If you don't have a stamp, you'll gladly accept a signature as well," Ozu pointed out. "Face it, pal," Sagawa added. "If you don't hurry up and sign, we're never gonna stop going after Toyama's daughter." Mirukawa snatched up a pen. "Mr. Mino, you can't do this. Think about what you're doing," Chiaki shouted. "If you go through with this, you'll just wind up like Mr. Toyama." "I won't." "Yes, you will. Just who the hell you think I am? I'm Minoru Minorikawa, damn it. I'm going to land so many scoops it will make your head spin. And I'm going to pay back this debt and rebuild Heaven Publishing." "But why would you take such a risk?" Chiaki sobbed. Minorikawa lowered his voice. "Because I owe him so much. I Can't stand by, let these scumbags kill his daughter. Minorukawa readied his pen and signed the document. Alright, Sugawa cheered. Now we're talking. A satisfied grin came to Ozu's face as he reached for the contract. But before he could pick it up, Chiaki snatched it from the desk. I'm not letting you do this. Crumpling the paper, she stuffed it right into her mouth. Hey, Sugawa snapped. What the hell are you doing? He tried to force Chiaki's mouth open. Don't you dare, you bitch! But despite his frantic efforts, Chiaki managed to gulp the wad of paper down. Wyobraźcie sobie, co byłoby, gdyby to była Chiri z zadaniem połknięcia ważnej rzeczy. Sugawa blinked a few times. Oh, you did not just do that. Ozu looked on, dumbstruck. Guess we gotta get a new contract from the office, boss. Bring as many as you want, Chiaki declared. I'll just keep eating them. Girl, you some kinda damn goat or something? Goat. The mental image of a goat eating paper is a common one, dating back to long ago when paper was made solely out of plant material. If a goat were to eat modern paper, the wad of chemically treated pulp would go undigested, and possibly cause an intestinal blockage. So please, do not feed paper to goats. Sugawa shoved Chiaki up against the desk. Oh, cut it out! That hurts! As she struggled to resist, Chiaki lurched toward the desk, planting one of her hands atop the TV remote control. One of her fingers happened to land on the volume up button. Only feed paper to washed up has-beens. The sound from the television set soon hit max volume. We have just learned that the explosion earlier claimed the life of one man. While police have stated that there is a likelihood of foul play at work, they are also pursuing leads that this was a potential suicide. They hadn't released a name, but they must have been talking about Toyama. Oh, czyli tutaj chyba wróci ten wybór. Czy Kano powiedział, żeby ujawnić dane, czy nie ujawniać danych? Które 3 razy zmienialiśmy for reasons i nie pamiętam, na czym się skończyło. Ale wydaje mi się, że ujawniliśmy. Że chyba ujawniliśmy, że to będzie Tanaka. Ostatecznie, ale zobaczymy. Feeling the impact of his mentor's death all over again, Minorukawa slumped back in his chair, his body languid and lifeless. Still, there was one thing he could do for the friend he'd lost. Draw up a new contract. I'll sign it. Mr. Mino! Don't argue with me. I've made up my mind. Chiaki fell silent. No reneging on our deal now, Ozu said with a nasty sneer. I do hope you don't get any funny ideas about running out on us. But Minorukawa didn't need the warning. He had no such plans. Sugawa slapped a new contract onto the desk. Here, sign it. Minorukawa signed for a second time. Sugawa stepped in to make doubly certain that Chiaki couldn't eat it. I do hope you're able to earn enough to pay us back in short order, Mr. Minorukawa. With a satisfied grin, Ozu smacked him on the shoulder. Minorukawa stood on deck as his ship set out across the rolling waves. In order to pay back the loan as soon as he could, he'd had to quit his financially unreliable career as a freelancer. For over a year now, he'd been sailing the seas, tossed by wind and waves as he went in pursuit of his new goal. But as Minorukawa gazed out over the vast, wild ocean, his eyes shone with the self-same gleam that had lit them in his days as a reporter, chasing after the truth. Czy podobnie jak Yakuza dostaniemy właśnie nasz spin-off o Minorukawie jako piracie na Hawajach. Yeah, great minds think alike, Tyveryt. With pen exchange for fishing rod. He sought a brand new destiny. Forge onward, Minorikawa. For the diamonds of the sea. The rare bluefin tuna. One Piece is real. Bank. One Piece ending, moi drodzy. One Piece ending, ale niestety musimy chyba wrócić do Naruto timeline'u. Od One Piece z timeline'u. Znaczy, releasing the name should be alright. There was still a lot they didn't know about Tanaka. Czyż timeline wraca? Timeline wraca, cyk. Oj, Woodruff Tier, tak, tu jest całkiem parę Woodruff Tier pedendów. I... O ile nie obiecam graczom robienia achievementu, zobaczmy wszystkie bedendy, bo to nie jest tego warte. Zwłaszcza, że jest bardzo dużo rzeczy, gdzie powiedzmy, wiecie, jest jeden bedend, ale są po prostu 3 flagi, które trzeba zrobić, żeby był prawdziwy end i każda brakująca jest technicznie tym samym, bo tam z innym zdaniem zmienionym. Na szczęście chyba większość i tak zobaczymy tych worthwhile, ale planuję po skończeniu gierki zrobić jeden stream na special content, bo powiedzmy w ramach New Game Plus takie różne winietki, takie wiesz, bonusowe scenki i tak dalej. Plus na przykład właśnie szukanie Min Greena na zdjęciach w tle. Czego? Jest już zaraz zrobimy 17, a ani razu tego nie zrobiliśmy. Jak gram tą grę pierwszy raz, to parę Min Greenów znalazłem, ale tutaj jeszcze ze streamer debuffem, czytaniem na głos jakoś mi wszystkie umknęły. Więc tak, będzie epilogowy stream właśnie ze śmiesznymi side stories. Jakaś minigierka za tym ukryta. Jakiś taki cio, labirynt. Weird shit. Dobra, tu wracamy do dawania. Zjadania rzeczy. Sygawa shoved Chiaki up against the desk. Oh, cut it out. That hurts. She struggled to resist. Chiaki lurched toward the desk, planting one of her hands atop the TV remote control. One of her fingers happened to land on the volume up button. The sound from the television set soon hit max volume. We have just learned the identity of the victim killed in the explosion. Shibuya resident and a pharmaceutical executive. Shibuya resident? Miriko tilted his head in confusion. Toyama didn't live in Shibuya. Once again, the victim of the explosion was Shibuya resident and pharmaceutical company executive, Mamoru Tanaka. The cause of the explosion remains unknown. The police are still in the process of following up several potential leads. The site of the incident remains an alarming scene, with relief workers continuing to tend to the wounded. The 4 people in the editing office spoke in near unison. Huh? Who's Tanaka? Ha, zupełnie jak widzowie tego streama. Bazinga! Ale tak, ponieważ to powiem jest koniec tego godzinnego segmentu, to takie raczej te linearne wstaweczki zostały. I już został tylko ostatnie pół godziny u Kenjiego. Kenjiego, który, przypomnę, cały team został odwołany, bo to już nie jest zadanie dla grupy kidnappingowej, tylko dla, wiecie, antychemicznych SWAT komando zespołu. A zresztą Mara nie jest porwana, tylko chodzi po mieście, więc elo. Ale Colombo został. Bo on jest prawdziwym detektywem. That's true, Ozawa replied. Chyba o tym, że... A, tak, bo Colombo mówił, że nie, no wcale nie jesteś najbardziej zjebanym autystą na świecie. Przecież widzę, że kochasz swoją rodzinę. I mnie poruszyłeś. That's not true, Ozawa replied. There's plenty you can help me with. He looked into Kajiwara's face and smiled. For instance... Cóż, robiliśmy ten wybór w zeszłym streamie, ale zbyt słodki mieliśmy, że tak powiem, ending i troszkę przerwaliśmy się w połowie scenki, więc się tutaj nie zapisało. Mamy szansę zmienić historię. Z tego co pamiętam, oryginalnym OG głosem był chyba Banan. Czy chcemy Banan? Czy może Jajo? Czy może Kinder Niespodziankę? Nie wiem, wy mi powiedzcie. Okej, czyli 2 głosy na Jajo, to i tak będzie przegłosowane. Jajo było z Cooking Mama segmentu, do którego swego czasu przyszliśmy zaraz po 20-minutowej ekspozycji dosłownych zbrodni wojennych w Afryce. Is that kind of a game? That fried egg on rice you made me was delicious. Kajiwara let out a bright little laugh. Oh, that's so nice of you to say. You flatter me. It's not flattery. Sawa shook his head seriously. Honestly, I've got a hankering for more. I wish I had your cooking skills, detective. But despite the praise, Kajiwara's smile took on a note of sadness. Oh no, anyone could make something like that after living alone like I have. Osawa was surprised to hear that he lived alone. The detective looked like he was old enough to likely be married by now. Doing this job caused me to neglect my family. Finally, about 2 years ago, my wife hit me with the divorce paperwork. I wanted to be able to keep our daughter with me, but, well, the law tends to favor the mother when it comes to custody issues. So his living alone was a newer thing, after being separated from his wife and daughter. But fried egg on rice? My daughter used to love that. Is that so? I can cook more proper dishes, but for whatever reason, she just really loved that one. The detective then pulled 2 bars of chocolate from his pocket. Sawa accepted one, but said nothing. My daughter was fond of this brand of chocolate, too. Kajiwara snapped off a bit of his own bar and popped it into his mouth. I would warn her that she'd get cavities if she ate too much. But she'd stab her face to the point that there was practically always chocolate smeared around her mouth. Kajiwara sighed, and a forlorn smile came to his face. I guess the fact that I always carry stuff like this around in my pockets just means that I'm a fool who doesn't know how to let go. Osawa shook his head. I don't think that's true at all. He understood full well what it was like to have a daughter always in one's thoughts. Osawa too broke off a piece of chocolate and slipped it into his mouth. It was sweet and milky, a taste a child would love. He licked the residual chocolate from his fingertips, then turned back to Kajiwara. The 2 men smiled at one another. Here was a man Osawa could really talk to. He was sure of that much now. Detective? I apologize. I've kept things from you because I was worried that they involved classified corporate information. Oh? Kajiwara's eyes glimmered with interest. Earlier today I received some emails. They could be pertinent to the case. Would you mind letting me see them? Osawa shook his head. On the contrary. Zwróć uwagę, że w tym momencie, jak już Kenji jest born again, jest nowym człowiekiem, to już zdjęcia w jego storyline mają pełną saturację normalną kolorów, jak w innych. I tak stopniowo to ten Sin City efekt łagodzili. Back in front of his computer, Osawa saw that Ayanet was still open. Pretty Honey had responded to his forum post. Oczywiście, że musi nie przeczytać, co Pretty Honey napisał. Dla Winroli, bo ciebie też nie było. Pretty Honey to jest konto na forum fanów Ai Kamiki, przyszłego teścia Shinikano. One moment, just let me read this. Osawa read the response. I got that same result. Do you really think it is too late? Don't give up hope. Hanging there. Emoji. It's never too late. Every family has its share of problems. Like, you'll never find one that doesn't, I'm sure. When it comes to family, there's no such thing as game over. So don't let it get you down, Julie. Besides, I did learn one thing from reading your post. In the end, the father's happiness is his daughter's happiness. Kajiwara peered into the monitor. A young girl is posting to a forum for people 40 and older? It's Pretty Honey. She always replies to my threads. The detective furrowed his brow. I see. Is something the matter? No. That last line there just has me curious is all. A young girl writing something like that? Well, that's neither here nor there right now. Let me see those emails, if you would. Osawa opened his email. He pulled up the images of the human testing on the monitor. What is this? Kajiwara stared at the monitor, as if unable to look away. These are the images from unauthorized clinical testing of an antiviral drug I developed, carried out by my company, without my knowledge. Images of... I'm sorry, what was that? The detective frowned on the unfamiliar terminology. In simple terms, the antiviral is a wonder drug to combat the UA virus. Hold on. Maria is infected with the UA virus. Isn't that right? Yes. UA is a species of virus discovered in South Africa relatively recently. Roughly 12 hours after infection, patients develop a cough, then a fever, then begin vomiting, and ultimately begin to bleed uncontrollably from all over, resulting in death. The mortality rate is... So I was reluctant to say it. Kajiwara held his breath, waiting. It's nearly 100%. Kajiwara shuddered. But wait, he said after a moment. If you have this wonder drug, then Maria... Osawa shook his head. Without Tanaka, I have no means of getting it out of the lab. Kajiwara's frown deepened. I see. It may not be much to go on, but I think we can put together at least one piece out of our little mystery here. Mystery. Something difficult or impossible to explain. An enigma. See plenty of books titled The Mystery of Such and Such or The Secret of Whatever on bookstore shelves. But when you read them, you're invariably disappointed by the mystery not being that mysterious after all. Pardon me, one moment. Kajiwara inspected the email address of the sender A, then brought up the mail header. You don't see email addresses like this much. Seemingly from a foreign country, but that may be fake. You can tell that just from the email? Tak, Kenji, to się nazywa domena strony. Detective flashed a little green. Take a look here. So, if we just do this, and then this... His fingers flew over the keyboard, calling up the header details, singling out the received from field. This set of 4 numbers at the bottom is the sender's IP address. Think of it as an ordinarily hidden location marker of sorts. As he spoke, the detective pulled up a website called IP Station. He copied and pasted the set of 4 numbers and pressed the Enter key. The monitor showed the name of the provider, connection method, and other such details. Provider. A vendor that provides an internet connection service. A typical internet connection requires a dedicated line. Customers who do not already have one must make a contract for one with the provider. When the provider establishes your connection to the internet, you are assigned an identifying number called an IP address. So I couldn't make heads or tails of most of it, but one thing drew his eye. Access point? Shibuya Ward, Tokyo. Kajiwara went to the email programs option and checked the server info for Osawa's connection. Deep furrows formed his forehead. This here is the same provider that you use, Mr. Osawa. What does that mean? What kind of internet connection do you have here at your house? What sort? Well, it's plugged in over there, but... Osawa pointed at the router. And does everyone in your family use that same line? Yes, I think so. Kajiwara opened up a command prompt and typed ipconfig. A little prompt for users to issue computer control commands via keyboard instead of a mouse. Also frequently used to refer to the window or program allowing for such. Czas na mały spin-off o używaniu terminala, co? Kajiwara, najlepszy gliniarz. Okay, so... the same numbers we saw before pop up here. That's a bad sign. Oh? Sawa stared at the monitor. Kajiwara pressed enter, and a black window covered in white alphanumeric characters appeared. What the heck? Kajiwara muttered under his breath. Wait, what's going on? Sawa asked. Explain simply so that I can understand. Faking an email address is simple enough, but the typical person wouldn't be able to fake an IP. It's very likely that these emails were sent from another computer inside this house. Osawa had to stifle a gasp. The emails had been sent from his own house at around 11 o'clock that morning. Since Osawa hadn't sent them himself, that left only one possible culprit. Suddenly, his phone rang, nearly startling him out of his seat. Makino's name showed on the incoming call display. Osawa quickly picked up. Is there an update on the emergency board meeting? He blurted. Makino's voice was quiet and subdued. I tried pulling whatever strings I could, but to no avail. I'm afraid holding a board meeting today just won't be possible. The phone fell from Osawa's hand. His only possible means of saving Maria was now gone. No i moi drodzy, ponieważ nie ma już Marii do wyboru o godzinie 17, to actually odbędzie się głosowanie for reals na to, kogo tutaj śledzimy. Osawa dowiedział się, że it was coming from inside the house. Mirikawa jest w kluczowym momencie ratowania gazety. Kano jest na dachu, trzymając spluwę na detektywie Tateno, który zlordampował swoje backstory i ma dalej porwaną Marię. Ci robi aci rzeczy. Okay. Przepraszam, ale dzisiaj ten alt-tab mi tutaj świruje troszeczkę. I nawet jak na drugim ekranie coś kliknę, żeby zamknąć ankietę, to się gierka troszeczkę lubi tutaj odpalić. Jakbym wcisnął przycisk A na moim oryginalnym Nintendo Wii, na którym przecież to gram. A gunshot rang out from Tateno's gun. But it was a wild shot, fired reflexively as the weapon flew out of his hand. A figure had leapt from behind the water storage tank, kicking him in the arm that held the gun. Then, moving almost too fast for the eye to track, the newcomer delivered an elbow strike to Tateno's jaw. Kano didn't even have the chance to fire his gun. Before he could react, Maria's kidnapper was already laid out on the ground. Without so much as looking back, the girl bolted down the stairs. "Maria!" Kano shouted. He started to chase after her, but a bright glimmer in the corner of his eye stopped him in his tracks. The strange assailant had drawn a knife and was preparing to slit the unconscious Tateno's throat. Kano quickly brought his gun back to bear. "Stop right there!" The knife stopped, mere millimeters from Tateno's neck. Kano was sure that if he hadn't intervened, the detective's throat would have been slit already. The knife wielder pulled back the hood that had been concealing her face. I know you," Kano said, shocked to see that he recognized the attacker. It was the girl who'd been knocked down by the minivan explosion. Why stop me? Why stop me?" she asked, her tone ice cold. "Weren't you just about to shoot him yourself?" "I don't have a reason to shoot him anymore. Not now that you've helped Maria escape. Please, put the knife away." "Very well. Looks like he's not waking up for a while anyway." The girl withdrew the knife and rose to her feet. "Why did you come to Maria's rescue?" "Because she's my friend," the girl said simply. "She's been infected with a virus," Kano said. "We have to get her to help as soon as possible." He headed for the stairs that Maria had scampered down. "Not so fast. Don't move." The girl's sharp tone made Kano stop. Jeśli chodzi o ten nóż, to muszę powiedzieć, losowała trochę skrzynek. Losowała skrzynek, żeby taki je zdropił. "What for?" he demanded. "I thought you wanted to help." "I do want to help her, because I am not letting the police get their hands on her." The girl's voice was quiet, but hard as steel. "The police are afraid of the UA virus spreading, which is why they will certainly place Maria under quarantine. If that happens, there won't be any way to save her." "Just who in the world are you?" "Before I answer that, let's make a deal." Kano waited, non-committal. "I have information relevant to this case," the girl continued. "I want to make an exchange." Kano swallowed the lump in his throat. "An exchange for what?" "Tell me where Hitomi Osawa is." "Hitomi Osawa?" Stanley had taken Hitomi into custody Kano could probably get in touch and ask him where she was, but... Why do you want to know where Hitami is? Do we have a deal or not? The girl looked like she was in no mood to argue. Still, if she knew about the UA virus, she was probably telling the truth about having information. But it was a violation of police policy to leak information on any investigation to a third party. Besides, was it wise to trust this young woman without knowing who she was? Kana waited his options for a moment before replying. Czy dzielimy się sceną informacją arabskiej anime terrorystce? W teorii to z naszą metawiedzą to powinien być dobry pomysł, bo jakby wiemy, że jest ziomeczką osałów, o czym Kano nie wie, ale no Kano nie jest też zbyt mądry. Ale oczywiście no może być też bejcik, nie pierwszy, nie ostatni w tej grze. Ale pytanie warte zaufane, Nothing Sus mogła zabić detektywa Tateno, a nie zabiła. Alright, I'll tell you. Kano agreed. The girl gave a tiny nod. But first, what's your name? Kanan. Kanan? Kano fought back to the grisly scene at the Foreign Syndicate's hideout. Did she do that? He was almost afraid to wonder. There was still a lingering trace of adolescence in this strange girl's face. It was hard to believe someone so young to be a covert Middle Eastern operative. And yet, Kano had seen how quickly she'd been able to render Tateno unconscious. Alright then. Guess I'll go first, Kanan began. There's someone out there trying to get their hands on the antiviral drug. My objective is to eliminate this person and put a stop to their plan. Kano felt neither surprise nor horror at her use of the term eliminate. After all that had happened today, he realized his sensibilities had gone numb. This person you're after. You're talking about an arms dealer named Alfred, aren't you? Kanan nodded. The UA virus has been weaponized and tested several times on the battlefield to great effect, she said. The antiviral would render this weapon wholly ineffective. Countries the world over are dying to get their hands on it. Then why did Alfred orchestrate this kidnapping? If the goal is to get the antiviral, why not just steal it from the laboratory? There was a lot about this kidnapping case that still didn't add up. Kano was sure Alfred's plan was hidden in those baffling details. Lab security at Okoshi Pharmaceutical is practically perfect. The place is under surveillance 24 hours a day, and getting to where the antiviral is stored requires bypassing 3 sophisticated electronic locks. Getting the antiviral out is impossible. Unexpectedly, a sly grin appeared on Kanan's face. If you were Alfred, how would you steal it? She asked. Huh? Kana was taken aback by the sudden question. He thought good and hard about how to answer. To raczej... O kurczę, muszę myśleć D jak co. Raczej flavorowy wybór mi się wydaje, ale potraktujmy to jako, że tak powiem, no ekran nam powie, jaki jest tutaj poprawna odpowiedź, ale czy mamy zbiorowo tyle szarych komórek co Alfred, żeby tutaj rozwijać jego plan. to może potraktować to jako taki, wiecie, puzzle. Okej. Trójeczka. If you can't sneak something out, maybe you could sneak something in. Indeed, a very sneaky answer. Kano hadn't had any particular flash of insight. He just figured the opposite of the obvious might be the answer. To his surprise, Kanan gave a nod. Very astute. Wait, really? 6 days ago, Alfred injected Hitomi Osawa with the UA virus. What? The tale had taken a sudden and very unexpected turn. So it wasn't only Maria who had been infected, but Hitomi as well. And 6 days ago at that. Wait, hold on. Hitomi Osawa was perfectly healthy earlier today. So that must mean... Exactly. Kenji Osawa administered the antiviral to her. An unsettling thought occurred to Kano. It was supposedly impossible for Osawa to access the antiviral all by himself. But if he'd been able to give it to his daughter and his daughter all the same, then that had to mean... He needed Mamoru Tanaka's help to do it, of course, Kanan said. Which is why Alfred bribed Tanaka ahead of time. So that's what happened. Tanaka had been paid off to inject Hitomi with the virus. Getting Osawa to take action at that point wouldn't have been difficult. But why go to such lengths to get the antiviral administered to Hitomi? Why would Alfred have Hitomi infected with the virus, only to then have her father cure it? It's been roughly a week since she was given the antiviral. The DDS is still in her body. The what? Essentially, taking blood from Hitomi Osawa now would allow someone to extract minuscule amounts of the antiviral. Kano was stunned. Suddenly, all these seemingly unrelated threads were beginning to form a pattern. So, since getting the antiviral itself is out of the lab wasn't an option, Alfred must have thought of using a human vessel, he murmured. Which means the thing that Alfred's really after is... Kanan nodded. Yes, Hitomi's blood, she finished. Alfred specifically requested that Hitomi make the ransom handoff, Kanan said. Additionally, the crime syndicate was hired to carry out a relay with the attaché case containing the ransom money. This would disrupt the investigation and distract the police, allowing the kidnappers to target Hitomi in secret. Wait, no, hold on. There was something about this story that still made no sense to Kano. Tell me this, he said to Kanan. Okay, why not just kidnap Hitomi in the first place? Tak, to jest recap. That was the key question, right there. Why kidnap Maria instead? If Alfred wanted Hitomi's blood, abducting her, not her sister, was the obvious move. Had the kidnappers mistaken Maria for Hitomi? The two are two... oraz do Windrali mówię, to jest trochę recap plotu, którego się dowiedzieliśmy wcześniej, więc trochę przez dobre odpowiedzi idę, ale masz też szansę nadgonić dzięki temu. The two are twins after all, so it wasn't inconceivable, but it's my fault that Maria was kidnapped. Kanan looked away. I contacted her before this all started. I told her about the kidnapping plan, and I gave her a GPS beacon to give her sister, so that I could track Hitomi's location after she was abducted. But my plan backfired. Maria switched places with Hitomi and let herself get taken by Alfred. What the hell? Why hadn't Maria taken this to the police? Or, if she was so determined to protect her sister, why not just get her to leave town or something like that? There must have been some sort of accident, though, Kanaan continued. The GPS was never turned on after the kidnapping, and I wasn't able to track Maria down. But there was something that even Alfred hadn't counted on. Kanaan cast a glance over at Tateno. This person right there. Right here, she said. So, Tateno had disrupted Alfred's plan by going after Hitomi himself. Considering where it's all led, Kanaan continued, Alfred must be panicking about now. But we can't let down our guard. Even now, I'm sure the mastermind is thinking of some way to fit what this man had done into the master plan. So, it's a perfectly imperfect plan. Is that what you're saying? Precisely. Kanaan flashed Kano an approving grin. I heard that from Stanley, Kano said. The man who drove you to the hospital earlier. That case officer, huh? Case officer? So that was it. Stanley was CIA. The US Embassy in Akasaka functions as the headquarters for the CIA's Japan branch. As the embassy building is not reliably secure, however, the agency carries out many of its activities in specially constructed embassy annex facilities, often under the guise of cultural exchange organizations. There are reportedly over 100 CIA personnel active in Japan, but given the inherent secrecy involved, the exact number is not officially known. Now that Kano thought about it, all made sense. Since Alfred is an arms dealer with worldwide connections, I don't know what nation might be trying to obtain the antiviral. Obviously, any country that has the viral weapon would want to prevent their enemies from obtaining it. It's no huge surprise that people are butting in, trying to put a stop to Alfred's plan. A tiny beeping sound caught Kano's attention. Kanaan pulled a PDA from her breast pocket. PDA, Personal Digital Assistant, refers to various types of small portable devices for information management, occasionally also referred to as a handheld PC. Interesting. The GPS I gave to Maria has just been powered on. Now I can find her location. Where is she? She's on the move. But why is the GPS suddenly active now? Kanaan frowned. At any rate, I've told you what I know. Now tell me where Hitomi is. Alright. No to są te czasy, że jeszcze PDA istniały. Dopiero za rok, przez 2 lata przyjdzie Obama ze swoim Blueberry, nawet jeśli Blueberry też jest już trochę reliktem przeszłości. Tell me where Hitomi is. Alright. Kano got out his phone and called Stanley. Podoba mi się, jaki ma ten taki niby atramentowy, kreskówkowy styl. To PDA trochę tak na superagenta. Trochę dziwny flavor, ale ok. Przyciski w sensie takie, wiecie, pomalowane. The American was quick to pick up. What's going on? Where's Hitomi? We're on our way to Endo Electronics in Dogenzaka. Endo Electronics? Why are you going there? Kano was familiar with the dilapidated old storefront. He had passed by the place countless times. Too long of a story. There's a lot that happened, Stanley replied. How are things on your end? About as bad as they could be, but I'm getting closer to the truth. Please, make sure you keep Hitomi safe. Alfred is after her blood. Her blood? Kano told Stanley what he'd heard from Kanaan. I see. So that's what's going on. Once we're finished with things in Dogenzaka, I'll bring Kitami right back to the precinct. Where is she? Kanan asked as soon as Kano had hung up. She's on her way to an electronics store in Dogenzaka. I see. Kanan checked Maria's location on her PDA. First, I need to get Maria, she said. I'll get to Hitomi after that. I'm going with you. Be my guest. With that, Kanan was off and running. Kano took one last glance at the unconscious Tateno, then hurried after Kanan as fast as he could. Myślałem, że to będzie filmik. They ran from South Hill in Nanpendai toward Shibuya Station. As they darted and weaved madly through the narrow side streets, Kanan took an occasional glimpse at her PDA. It felt to Kano like they must be taking the shortest possible route to Maria's location. He stayed quiet, keeping pace as Kanan led the way. Before he knew it, they were heading up Dogenzaka. In not too long, they'd be at Endo Electronics. Hey! Kano called out to Kanan. What? He shouted back without turning. You sure this is the right area? Are you adapting the GPS? No, it's not that. Kano scanned the area. It's just that Endo Electronics is right up ahead. What? Kanan stopped abruptly. What are you suggesting? The twins are heading for the same location. That's my guess. Still, what did it actually mean? Kano hadn't figured that out yet. They took off running again, and before long, Endo Electronics came into view. Kanan stopped in front of the shop door. Right here, she said, glancing again at her GPS. I knew it, Kano thought. Endo Electronics, the same place Hitomi was headed. Guess we're all winding up together, Kanan said. Or else, we've been brought together. She peered keenly at the building and its surroundings. Kano swallowed hard. We? You think you've been roped into this too? Quite possibly. Kanan flashed the... Okej, słuchajcie, czy to jest... Muszę zwrócić, czy to jest śmieszna perspektywa? Czy ta 14-letnia dziewczynka jest dosłownie tak wysoka jak oficer policji Kano? Bo goddamn, ja wiem, że Japończycy są niscy, ale... Ale to dosłownie mała niby dziewczynka. Quite possibly. Kanan flashed a winning smile, then started to head into the shop. Nie wiem ile ma lat, ale no spójrz na nią, to jest dziecko przecież. Hold on. I need to report into HQ. Kano hurriedly called Kuze on his cell. W sumie może jak obejrzymy potem słynne anime Kanan, to się dowiemy ile miała mieć lat. W ogóle Winroli, nie wiem czy byłeś, kiedy był lore ogłoszony, ta gra ma sequel anime. I sama jest sequelem innej gry o małych anime dziewczynkach napierdających się 9/11, czy post 9/11 w Iraku. Więc ta intryga jest a whole thing. Kano, what's going on? I've located Maria Osawa. Huh? What's that? Kuze's words came out as a surprise and childish yell. Come on. Kanan's smile turned to a steely glare. Time is critical. He nodded silently back at her. Kano, what's the location? Kuze asked. Where are you? I can't say right now, sir. Please, just leave this to me. Hey, no, just hold on. But Kano ignored the director's squawking and hung up. Kanan had already entered the shop. She seemed wholly unconcerned by the idea that she might be playing right into Alfard's hands. Despite her youth, she clearly thought of herself as quite capable. Warily, he followed after her. After navigating a veritable cavern of junk, they came to a door that led to the living area beyond. Kanan quietly opened the door and immediately stepped inside. The home was divided into a dwelling area and a workroom. A man's voice could be overheard from the workroom, raised in anger. "Don't you want to save Suzune?" Kano and Kanan crept closer. Peering through the next doorway, they saw a tense confrontation in progress. Maria and Stanley were standing there, looking down at a middle-aged man who had restrained Hitomi with a stun gun pressed to her throat. "Dad, of course I want to help Suzune." A young man stepped into view, speaking to the older fellow. "But do you think this is what she'd want you to do?" Kano watched intently, tensing for action. There was so much at risk here. He was about to barge into the workroom when Kanan grabbed him by the shoulder. "Let's wait and see how this goes first," she whispered. He realized this was a good advice. If they provoked the older man, things could very well take a sharp turn for the worse. They just have to hope the young man could talk him down. No słuchajcie, moi drodzy, nie ma wyboru, musimy brać teraz chyba Chiego, żeby ten jakby plotline już zrobić. I jak dojdziemy do tego samego miejsca, to będziemy sobie myśleć, czy chcemy grać ten timeline dalej, czy skoczyć do innych koleżków. Archie told Stanley... też w Indroli Stanley się przykleił do nich jako ochrona, bo trochę nikt nie chce, żeby Hitomi eksplodowała cyberwirusem. Archie told Stanley and Hitomi what his father had done. As she listened, Hitomi hung her head. Her face was sallow. "I'm so sorry," Archie told her. "I'm not really sure what to say." He clenched his fist so hard his knuckles popped, struggling to keep his emotions in check. "So if I were rendered brain dead, you could help your sister," Hitomi murmured. Brain dead. A state where brain function has ceased irreversibly. In Japan, there are two conditions for declaring birth death. The first is that the patient must be comatose, in a state of apnea, no longer breathing, due to damage to the brain. The second is that the root cause is diagnosed and it is deemed that no reasonable treatment will restore brain function. "Stop," Archie said quickly. "Please, don't say things like that." A sad look came to Hitomi's face, and she pressed her right hand to her heart. "I mean, to find out like this." She turned to Archie, tears glistening in her eyes. "I want to help your sister, but we have other things to worry about right now." This time it was Stanley who cut her off. "Remember, Alpha is after you, Hitomi. Isn't that what Kanan told you?" Yes. She said I was the mastermind's target." Hitomi wiped her tears away with her fingertips. "So Alfred and Archie's father are after the same thing," Stanley said. "Is that just a coincidence?" It didn't sound like he thought so. "Hold up," Archie growled, leaning in from the back seat. "Yeah, my dad's way out of line. But he did what he did for Suzune. He wouldn't work with terrorists." "I'm not saying he's deliberately aiding terrorists," Stanley replied coolly. "It's common sense that a pro wouldn't get an amateur involved with their plans. That makes it too likely that a clumsy misstep will cause things to fall apart. But then again, that's not the way Alfred thinks. So... Actually, the likelihood of failure could well be part of the plan. And she thought back to what Kanan had said earlier. If you achieve your goals using accidental means, the outline becomes blurred. It makes it harder for anyone outside looking in to grasp what the actual plan is. Not only have they put together a perfect plan, they've purposely left certain tiny holes in it. So, if we assume the plan has failed, this slip-up might be exactly what Alphard wants, Stanley muttered. Sort of an intentional hole, then, Archie said. Stanley snorted. Kanan told you guys that too, huh? If that's the case, then you really are a fool. What did you just call me? Archie barked. If you've known all along how formidable this opponent is, you should have given Hitomi over to police custody right away. It's only a matter of damn luck that either of you are still alive right now. Look, luck or not, me and Hitomi have managed to get by safely. That's all that matters. What exactly is the relationship between you two anyway? Are you guys dating? Archie and Hitomi exchanged glances. When Hitomi hesitated uneasily, Archie decided he'd better speak up. No, it's not like that. We just happened to run into each other earlier today. Guess I'm not the kind of guy who can abandon someone in trouble. Can't abandon someone in trouble, huh? You sure you're not just trying to make yourself feel self-important? There are plenty of people out there that you can't see who are also in trouble, or also suffering. If you only help the ones close at hand, then what's the point, really? The world's a lot bigger than you can imagine, and there's a lot you're blind to. So what? If I see someone who's in trouble, I'm supposed to ignore them? Nah, I can't do that. If I see someone who's collapsed from hunger, I'm not gonna just walk on by because there are people starving somewhere else in the world. I'll be all, hey, let me treat you to a beef bowl, or whatever. You couldn't have come with a smarter example? Stanley replied with a tiny laugh. Okay, so I am an idiot, Archie scowled. My bad. Stanley laughed again. Today's been an interesting day, he said. I was with another fellow earlier. He was just like you. Meaning what? Was he an idiot too? Jeśli ma być szczery, Archie, trochę tak. Yeah, he was an idiot. Do all you Japanese have that problem? Wow, racist. Hardly. My little sister's so smart, she'd make your eyes pop out. Well, I'm sure relieved to hear that. If everyone in this country were as dumb as you guys, I might actually start to like this place. Huh? What does that even mean? Talk so I can understand, man, Archie shot back. But Stanley didn't respond. Instead, he stuck his head out the car window, peering at the road ahead. They were close to Shibuya Station now. The traffic had ground to a halt. Gridlock again? Stanley grumbled. It's probably better to walk the rest of the way to Endo Electronics. He pulled over on the side of the road. Specifically the shoulder that runs along either side of the traveled portion of the roadway. A place where the trash tossed out the windows of moving cars tends to accumulate. Tossing cigarette butts and empty cans out onto the street can potentially hurt people, and it definitely makes a mess. Please do not litter. Achi got out of the car, feeling his guts knot up with worry. Pretty soon he was going to have to confront his father. Stanley gave Achi a look. Are you scared about meeting with your father? I'm not scared. First things first, I'm gonna punch him right in the face. Then we can have ourselves a chat. Don't let your emotions get out of control. Your father might be one of the key players in this case. I don't give a damn about that. Achi took Hitami by the hand and started walking. They'd gone up and down Nogenzaka so many times today already. But this was probably the last time he and Hitami would make their way up the hill together. Actually to może mieć znaczenie. Trochę to wygląda jako flavorowy głos, ale czy tak powiem, czy jesteśmy wkurwieni, czy savor the last moments with Hitomi. Ale to może mieć znaczenie, jak szybko dojdziemy do sklepu, a no tam wiadomo, konfrontacja, no tutaj wpada Kano, ojciec swoje serial killer plany robi. Czy chcemy przyjść zawczasu, czy chcemy może tak właśnie bliżej wbitki z Kano, tak wszyscy naraz? Ja nie wiem, koledzy, ale wy na pewno wiecie. Okej. Jedyneczka. His anger rising, Achi picked up speed as he marched onward, wanting to confront his father as soon as possible. His father was wrong. Even if he was acting to save Suzune, he was absolutely wrong. A crime was a crime, regardless of the motive. This was a crime his father needed to atone for. And if he resisted, Achi would take him down, even if he had to use his fists. Even if I have to use my fists. A memory from long ago rose in Achi's mind. Pure white karate... Czy to jest naprawdę moment, w którym robimy Karate Kid sideplot? Okej, Spike Chunsoft, okej. Thrusting out with his left fist. Daisuke collapsing to the floor. One of many memories of his father that Achi could not forget. Kneeling before the memorial altar of his mother, Kotone, Achi wept uncontrollably. He clutched his ohajiki tightly in his hands. Ohajiki, made of small coin-shaped glass beads, somewhat similar to marbles. The typical game involves flicking one's pieces into the opponent's with a fingertip. Specific rules vary greatly by region. Achi had always been rather clingy with his mother. When she was alive, she had often joined him for ohajiki, origami, and the like. On this particular day, Achi had come home miserable after getting bullied by the neighborhood kids for acting like a wimp. Achi. He turned to see his father, holding 2 cups of shaved ice. Come here for a bit. They sat on the stairs together, eating their sweet frozen confections. You want to get tougher? Daisuke's words were soft and simple. How about you and me get tougher together? She looked up at his father, frowning in confusion. How are we gonna do that? Well, for starters, how about we learn some karate? Karate? Archie's face twisted up unhappily at the idea. He couldn't even imagine himself punching or kicking anyone. I'll be alright. It'll be alright, his dad said. I'll go with you, don't you worry. Daisuke flexed one of his scrawny arms. His biceps bulged up the tiniest bit. Archie was well aware that his father wasn't much of an athlete. There had been an athletics meet at his grade school. Even now, the memory of Daisuke tripping clumsily during the parent participation relay was burned into Archie's mind. Parent participation. A type of children's event where the parents who have come to watch the children compete are asked to join in with them. Daisuke took part in the tug-of-war, only to get tangled up in the rope and dragged over the line. Archie was understandably disheartened by his father's embarrassing display. But after eating the lunch his father had made for him, his spirits quickly returned. Daisuke had made rice balls that were clumsily oversalted, but Archie could tell how hard he'd worked to prepare them. I mean, if you're gonna be there. And so, the two began training together at the local karate dojo. Archie put on his white gi and fastened his obi tightly. As he did so, he felt as if his feelings were being anchored in place as well. Son! Archie's gi sleeves made a whooshing sound as he slammed in the VHS tape in time with the sensei's chant. Even simple kata practice made him feel like he was escaping from the galaxy's most dangerous prison. Somehow. His dad, having left Suzune in the care of their neighbors, was working up a sweat alongside him. But he was out of shape, and his technique was shaky. He was soon exhausted and went to lean up against the dojo wall. Archie stepped out of the training circle and called out to his father. Dad, are you okay? Yeah, I gotta take a little break. Daisuke sounded like he was on the edge of hyperventilating. Thanks, Dad. Huh? What for? For asking me to come to take karate lessons with you. Archie was sure he'd never have dared to go to the dojo alone. Hey, just so long as you're liking it. Oh, go on, get back to training. With a deep bow, Archie resumed his kata practice. As they were walking home from the dojo, Archie turned to his father. How come you want to get stronger, Dad? He asked. I mean, you're not getting bullied by your friends. Daisuke was quiet for a few moments before answering. His words came out awkward and embarrassed. I was picking a lot when I was your age too, Archie. I had a friend who would always come and bail me out. A friend? Yeah, a friend. A distant look came to his father's eyes. He was a real fighter. I always looked up to him. I wanted to be strong like him. His expression turned lonely. I don't get to see him anymore though. Why not? Archie asked. Did he die? No, nothing like that. Did you guys have a fight? Something like that. Daisuke smiled sadly. He stared out into the sky for a while before speaking up again. His name's Tateno. Huh? My friend, that's his name. Archie's father increased his pace. Come on, he said. We have to go and pick up Suzune. After that, despite Archie's questions, Daisuke would say no more about his old friend. By the time he was almost done with grade school, Achi had grown up fit and strong, almost unrecognizable from his younger self. Perhaps he'd had the physical knack in him all along. He was chosen as the representative for the boys' karate team, even managing to take second place in a national tournament. Nobody bullied Achi anymore. One time, Daisuke suggested that the two of them do some sparring. Achi might have been a national competitor, sure, but he was still a grade schooler scoring off against an adult. His father had been training for close to 2 years now as well, and his confidence had grown accordingly. Achi was excited to be able to face off against his old man. Early on in their karate training, Achi's kumite had seemed rather hopeless, leaving shocked that his out-of-shape father was able to overpower him, but also pleased to get a sense of how strong the man was. This time, Achi thought he might well lose again, but he was going to go all out. As they adopted their fighting stances, Daisuke's face was full of confidence. The instructor gave the signal to begin, and Achi opened with a sharp low kick. Daisuke didn't guard against it. The blow caught him in the thigh. It looked to Achi like he'd allowed himself to take the hit, not fearing the effect of a child's kick. Achi proceeded to unleash several more low kicks to the same spot. Bit by bit, Daisuke's face revealed his discomfort. Finally, he yanked his leg away. That was when Achi realized his father wasn't letting himself get hit on purpose. He was just unable to keep up with the speed of his son's footwork. If that was the case, Achi felt bad about exploiting his dad's weakness. He decided to leave his leg alone. Instead, he aimed a punch at his father's midsection. Omae wa shindeiru. He was shocked by the impact as the blow struck home. He hadn't attacked with a great deal of force. He just thrown a light midsection punch as a check. But as Achi pulled back his fist, Daisuke crumpled to the floor, writhing in pain as he clutched his gut. Achi stared in disbelief at his own hand. That was the last day that Daisuke went to the dojo. O, stary tak bardzo upokorzony przez swojego syna, że już nigdy więcej nie przyszedł na zajęcia. God damn. To był exhibition match, on się nie liczy do twojego rekordu. Your dad's pathetic. Yeah, he's such a loser. Achi was on his way home from practice, and some older students from the dojo had started ribbing on him. What did you say? These kids were middle schoolers. Achi wasn't about to back down. He thrust out with a quick punch, stopping him just short of one boy's nose. Go on, say that again. I'll kick your ass. The older boys went pale, then took off and ran. But this small victory did nothing to bolster Achi's spirits. His father had looked so small and lonely, heading away after quitting karate. But Achi didn't think there was anything pathetic about that. Sure, maybe by now he was better at karate than his father, but really, what difference did that make? And growing stronger, he'd learned something. Using force to win out over someone else didn't mean anything. Strength alone didn't determine a person's worth. Achi loved and respected his father for going to the dojo with him. Beating him in a karate match didn't change the way he felt. Achi resurfaced from his memories to hear Stanley talking on his phone. I see. So that's what's going on. Once you're finished with things in Dogenzaka, I'll bring Hitami right back to the precinct. Curious? Achi turned to the American. Hey, who were you just talking to? Stanley's reply was clipped. That other idiot I was telling you about earlier. With that, Stanley proceeded to wrap up his phone call. Guess I'm not going to get much out of this guy, Achi thought. By now, they could see Endo Electronics up ahead. Achi was about to hurry inside when Stanley stopped him. I'll go in first. You two wait out here. No way, this is my dad we were talking about. And you don't think it's dangerous to bring Hitomi right to him? Well, alright. We'll wait here for a bit, and once we know it's safe, we'll head on in. You cool with that? I'm cool with that. Stanley stepped inside. Achi fussed about impatiently, staring at the entryway. The palm of his clenched fist was sweating. Never before in his life had he wanted to just deck his old man. Hitami watched him uneasily. Hitami. Yes? I'm sorry. I really don't want you to have to see this, but I think you're about to witness the crowning shame in Endo family history. Achi, don't say that, Hitami said. She squeezed his hand. He found his other fist unclenching. Please, you have to try to talk your father. Yeah, I know. Suddenly, there was a loud crash from inside the building. The time for waiting had passed. Let's go. Achi and Hitami raced inside. Verging into the living quarters without bothering to shed his shoes, he heard his father's voice coming from the workroom. Dad! Achi hurried through the workroom door and saw Stanley holding his father pinned across the desk. Let me go! Please! Let me go! Daisuke had thrashed both of his legs. Stanley, please! Let my father go! I want to talk to him. Stanley snorted dismissively, but did as he was asked. Daisuke stood up, rubbing at a sore wrist. Dad, please, you have to tell me. Where is Maria? Maria? What are you talking about? Daisuke wouldn't meet his eyes. Don't play dumb with me. And she pointed at Hitami. You know who this is, don't you? Hitami Osawa, the girl you've been after. Maria is her sister. But Daisuke remained silent. You're gonna pretend you didn't call the hospital? Nothing about maybe being able to get your hands on a heart? I mean, seriously? It's all so simple. Even I can tell what's been going on. You've been watching me and Hitami through the surveillance cameras. And you were telling that guy with the cane where we were. The blood began to drain from his father's face. Don't you go quiet on me. If I'm wrong, then go ahead. Tell me the truth. Daisuke's arm shot out suddenly, knocking an external hard drive from his desk onto the floor. It was over and done before Stanley could stop him. Stanley hunched down and picked up the shattered drive. I mean, po to miał budowę, żeby po spadnięciu z biurka się rozpizgnęły. Stanley, myślę, że jak poprawisz kable, może się obluzowały, to będzie działał mimo wszystko. I'm guessing there was important data on here. Footage from the cameras, maybe. I have no idea what you're talking about. Daisuke spat. You can't do this to an innocent person, Dad! Achi shouted, grabbing his father by the collar. There was a sound of footsteps from out in the shop. Someone was quickly getting closer. Stanley grabbed Hitami by the hand and pulled her back against the wall. She stiffened as he turned his gaze to the door. Okej, moi drodzy, w takim razie pytaniem jest, czy chcemy jakby kontynuować ten main wątek, bo mamy jumpa do Kano, nie? Że moglibyśmy kontynuować to. Czy że tak powiem sobie napocząć Osałę lub Minorikałę i potem na kolejnym streamie, jak będziemy kończyć tę godzinę, to że tak powiem cały action packed action już sobie na spokojnie zrobić. Oj! Jak mówiłem, alt-tab dzisiaj trochę świruje. Ach, niestety nie mogę zrobić, żeby było na mordeczki postaci. Więc jump do Lechiego, kontynuujemy wątek. Mirka w redakcji, czy... Kenji Osawa zaczyna w połowie tej godziny, więc w sumie będzie krótki. Startuję w tym momencie, w którym te dwa patafiany skończyły. Okej, czyli wrócimy do... Oczywiście kiedy zrobiłem opcję Shinikano, to miałem na myśli Achi, bo to od Shinikano jest jump do czego, nie na odwrót. Coś mea culpa, ale na jedno wyjdzie. Ale tak, ta godzina szybko mija. Podobnie jak to, że trochę tutaj widać bardziej jest po prostu czytanka ekspozycja, a mniej zagęszczenia wyborów. Trochę chyba widać, że gierka już zaczyna zawiązywać rzeczy do finału. Ale nie podoba mi się, że ten jump był na szaro pokazany. Wybór był fejkowy. Musimy coś odblokować. Bo Achi skończył o 17:25, a jump był do 35 po. God damn. Spodziewałbym się, że odblokowanie tego będzie tak naprawdę u Minorikały, bo hej, jest nieruszono o 17, a Osawa jest od 17:25. Ale mimo wszystko, hej, kliknę sobie Osałę, bo takie pół godziny zostawione to wygląda jak coś, co można go mieć szybko z głowy i potem, wiecie, będziemy sobie grzeli Minorikałę, aż do jakiegoś miłego momentu dojedziemy, żeby było co streama. The rain won't let up. The sound is growing louder and louder inside my head. It's the sound of regret, sputtering against my heart. My emotions surge like a terrible storm within me. I never wished for it. I never asked for this. Never expected my heart to be dragged so far beyond my control. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. The words stormed through Osawa's mind in a relentless cacophony. It called up images of the bodies from the human testing trials on his computer monitor. He couldn't help but imagine his daughter in the same gruesome state. In just a few more hours, Maria would begin hemorrhaging blood and die just like the people in these pictures had. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. He couldn't shake the words or the reality from his mind. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! So I began pounding his fists fiercely on the desktop. Sir, what are you doing? Kajiwara tried to intervene, but he kept on pounding away. He finally ceased. The pain of the repeated impacts lingered in his hands. My research was never about any sincere desire to help people. And now I'm paying the price for that. The one time it finally matters, I can't even save my own daughter. Mr. Osawa. Kajiwara set a hand on his shoulder. You can always blame yourself later. But for now, think again. Good and hard. Is there really no other way to save Maria? Nothing else we could try? Osawa shook his head. The only means we had left was using Tanaka's password to unlock the doors. And now, Tanaka is dead. There's no other way. Is there a possibility that Mr. Tanaka told someone else his password? This was something Osawa hadn't considered. Was there anyone Tanaka might have shared his password with? Only one person came to mind. Well, yes, there may be someone. You're referring to Ai, sir? Kajiwara cast his eyes down. Figure that out, then. Yes. Back during the commotion over that listening device. A necktie clip isn't typically the sort of present one gives to one's husband's co-worker. And yet, although some might consider it somewhat, inappropriate, Mr. Tanaka was wearing it as if it were a matter of course. Which, implies something about the relationship. Kajiwara's voice trailed off. He coughed apologetically and tried again. I realize it's an awkward situation, sir, but please check with your wife. Even if I does happen to know the password, that does us no good if Maria gets quarantined someplace we can't reach her. I understand, Mr. Osawa. I'll bring Maria to you then. I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. The detective then produced a bunch of bananas from his pocket. These are all left over. You're more than welcome to them, sir. Despite his gentle smile, the rest of his face was firm with resolve. You said you didn't care whether other people understood you, didn't you, Mr. Osawa? Osawa nodded guardedly. At the risk of being presumptuous, sir. I understand you, Kajiwara said. I used to be quite the workaholic myself. Or just like me. Innocent and awkward. On another occasion, Kajiwara was shocked to run into a man who looked just like him. The fellow was a stylist at the hair salon Kajiwara visits on occasion. He let out a gasp of surprise of his own upon seeing the detective. Kajiwara felt a peculiar connection, and was expecting to go to the salon regularly. But when the stylist asked what he did for a living, and Kajiwara answered honestly that he was a detective, the other man's face went pale, and he bolted out of the building. Kajiwara never saw the man again after that. Calling yourself innocent, huh? How modest of you. Osawa let out a sardonic chuckle, and after a moment, Kajiwara joined in. The next time I see you, Mr. Osawa, I'll have Maria with me. The detective gave a slight bow, then left the study, a look of determination on his face. Osawa watched him go with admiration. No matter what trouble arose, the man always looked for something he could do. He really was a fellow who knew how to hang tough. Compared to that, I'm just... Sawa couldn't even articulate his own self-disgust. And asking Ai about the password would also mean inquiring into her relationship with Tanaka. The prospect was daunting. Venturing into the emotional territory of another person was his weakest suit. He left his study, but somehow found himself making his way to Maria's room, not Ai's. He realized that he hadn't been to his daughter's room since a certain rainy day years before. Now, he stepped quietly inside, and saw Maria's world laid out before him. A small photo was set atop her neat and tidy desk. It was a close-up of someone's hand doing a cat's cradle. Whose hands were they? The skin tone, they didn't appear to be Maria's. Several more photographs were pinned to a corkboard that hung on the wall. There were snapshots of people and townscapes from the Middle East. Czy Maria all along miała w swoim pokoju wystawkę z tajnymi współpracownikami Saddama Husseina po prostu on main? I nikt nie zwrócił uwagi? Może z tymi 50 gliniarzami w domu? One glance at them, and Osawa felt like he was back there for a moment. The images weren't necessarily aesthetically pleasing, but they all looked like they'd been taken by a professional. When he spotted the last photo on the corkboard, however, he was certain that Maria had taken them all. The last picture was of Osawa himself. He was facing the camera, holding some luggage and flashing an awkward smile. It was a comical, affectionate image. He'd never known that photography was one of his daughter's hobbies. No, this went beyond a mere hobby. Did she perhaps aspire to be a professional photographer one day? She certainly had the aptitude for it, from the look of things. Maria, a photographer. As he mulled the idea over, Osawa felt his chest tighten. Right now, it looked like Maria's hopes and dreams were about to be snuffed out. Her future consisted of bleeding to death a few short hours from now. Osawa stared vacantly out of the window. The view from Maria's room remained unchanged from so long ago. Again, the rainy day crept back into his mind, as vivid as the present. On that day, Osawa was dealing with some pressing business from work. He'd ensconced himself in his study, wrestling with some paperwork, and Hitomi barged in, looking distraught. Maria's gone. Sensing that Hitomi was legitimately alarmed, Osawa hurried to Maria's room. He found the letter she'd left atop her writing desk. Dad. Godzina flashbacków. Gdyby nie to, że jakby wiem do jakiego zakończenia to zmierza i jak się skończy, to bym był bardzo taki że każdy dostaje swój... Że gdyby to było anime, to jest ten rodzaj flashbacku, który dostaje postać, zanim ją skasują. A jakby się kurde zapowiadały, to nie wszyscy byli zaraz dosyć kulkę. Był swój dramatic flashback, ale 17 to jest godzina właśnie lordampów i zaciskania plotu w jedną nitkę, żeby to do końca dążyło. Jak wspominałem tydzień temu, 18 jest dwugodzinna. Będzie po prostu taki jeden rozdział bloku 18 do 20 i powiedzmy o 20 finał. Więc tak szczegółów zupełnie nie pamiętam, ale wydaje mi się, że ta 18 będzie taka już w pełni gameplayowa, z tym skaniem po puffach i tak dalej. I przez to jakby teraz chyba chcą lore, wiesz, get out of the way, żeby w cool action już potem jechać jako, wiesz, wielki explosive finał. Dad, you only care about Hitomi. You're always working and never do anything with me. So I'm running away. A few hours earlier, he'd cancelled their weekend trip to the amusement park. He just wasn't going to be able to get his work done in time. Hitomi had resigned herself readily enough, but Maria just couldn't accept it. Szczerze mówiąc, based, rozumiem, jakby stary odwołał moją wizytę w Disneylandzie, też bym uciekł z domu. She'd been looking forward to it for so long, she raved at him. How many times now had he broken one of his promises to her? Hitomi understands why we can't go. So why can't you do the same? The cold rebuke had ended her complaining. But it was clear she still didn't accept the situation. Now, Hitomi helped him look around, but they found nothing missing from Maria's room. Despite her assertion that she was running away, then, it seemed like there was no point in being overly concerned. Maybe she's at the park she always goes to. Hitomi looked worried. The park was roughly a 25-minute walk from the house. It would only take about an hour for Sawa to go get her and bring her home. An hour was more than he could afford to spare right now. Dad, I think she's waiting for you to go after her. Sawa didn't need Hitomi to tell him that. He knew it well enough. That was what galled him so much about the situation. Why did she have to pull something like this, precisely when his work was at his busiest? He'd done everything he could as a father since his wife had passed away. Why couldn't his daughter see that? It's alright. Your sister will come back. The rain was coming down pretty hard outside the window. Do you think she brought an umbrella? Hitomi asked anxiously. I don't know. With the rain like this, she'll come back home soon enough. He spoke the words for himself as much as for Hitomi. Then, he headed back to his study and got back to work. But several hours went by, and still, Maria did not return. The rain had gotten even more intense, to the point where Osawa could hear it in his study. He was so concerned about his missing girl that he couldn't focus on his work, but he stubbornly refused to give in and go search for her. Several more hours passed. At last, Maria appeared on the front door, soaking wet. Osawa met her silently in the entryway. Wet strands of hair clung to the girl's forehead as she looked up at her father with a bitter glare. You don't care what happens to me, do you? Immediately, Osawa smacked her across the cheek with the flat of his hand. It was the first time in his life he'd ever struck anyone. He hadn't known such a violent impulse could even exist inside him. Maria stood there, her hand pressed to her cheek. Tears welled up in her eyes. She began to tremble. On her lip was a small bead of blood. A thought of guilt and regret rose up inside Osawa, as if he just shattered some intricate piece of glasswork. How could I do such a thing? He clenched his shameful hand into a fist. And in that moment, he was afraid of Maria. Afraid that his daughter could bring such raw emotion out of him and make him do something so thoughtless. But even more, he was afraid of how stunted he was as a human being. Was someone like him really fit to be a parent? What kind of future could Maria and Hitomi hope for with a father like him. That was why he'd married Ai, as Makino had proposed. Having a mother, he decided, would help keep his family together, despite their sad excuse for a father. But in so doing, Osawa had dug a psychological ditch between himself and his daughters. A deep ditch, so that he could keep his daughters from being hurt. Albo mógł pójść na terapię, so that he wouldn't hurt himself. Matko Jepsa dosłownie ożenił się drugi raz, żeby iść na terapię. Now, Osawa was staring across that ditch, wondering if it was too wide to leap. He thought back to his earlier exchange with Kajiwara. If you get angry, you show it. If you get sad, you show it. It's human nature to let other people know how we're feeling after all. But what if doing that hurts the other person? That's when you apologize, sir. Yeah, Pat was right. He needed to apologize to Maria for what he'd done that day. It still wasn't too late. It's never too late. When it comes to family, there's no such thing as game over. He recalled Pretty Honey's words. He needed to apologize to Maria, and so he needed to ask Ai for that password. Czy to czas, żeby Kenji drugi raz użył swojej zakująco mocnej pięści, żeby wydobyć hasło, które uratuje Marię? Mam nadzieję. Osawa was going to have to face his wife. A toż mi kipauta zrobili. Lekcje o... O mój Boże, cały ten tekst to było tylko 10 minut, holy shit. Niestety flashback time. Więc... Idziemy do Minorikały i... Teraz doblokujemy 100 000 jumpów, żeby odsupłać resztę godziny 17. The TV news continued to report on how Mamoru Tanaka had been killed in the minivan explosion. What? What does this mean? Chiaki blinked in confusion. I mean, Hana told us herself that the van explosion was her father committing suicide, didn't she? The only explanation I can think of, Mirika replied, is that Hana was lying. He scratched his head as he considered the situation. But why? Chiaki said. Ozu let out a snort. Well, it would seem Mr. Toyama had her lie in order to deceive us. What an upstanding individual, using his own daughter to buy himself some time. Mirka wanted to yell at the guy, but he managed to hold his tongue. The important thing was that Toyama was still alive. And if he was still alive, there was still a way to save Heaven Publishing. They'd get the current issue out on time, with a big scoop waiting in the wings for the issue after that. From there on out, it should be smooth sailing. Well, no matter, Azu said. Seeing that Mr. Toyama isn't dead after all, we'll just wait here for him. He sat back down on the sofa. But Sagawa leaned threateningly toward Chiaki. Hey, he snarled. You sure you don't know where the guy is hiding out? I don't, Chiaki shot back. And even if I did, I'd never tell you. Say what now? He leaned in even closer, just as she stood on her tiptoes in defiance. Their foreheads collided with a dull thud. Both reeled back, clutching their heads in their hands. Just calm down, Chiaki, Nirikawa said as he began rooting through Toyama's desk. For now, I'm going to look for clues to where Toyama might have gone. Just focus on working on your article. Oh! Ozu raised an eyebrow. Getting all cooperative all of a sudden, I see. I want to change up the plan for next month's issue. And I can't do that without the editor-in-chief's approval. What Mirukawa was actually looking for, however, was a back issue of Forestall Journal Gossip. He was pretty sure the article on Osawa had been printed in the magazine's inaugural issue. If he could find that scandalous piece that the scientists had asked for, he'd also be able to get his big lead about the power balance of the world being at stake. And if he could get that, not only would next month's issue be a sure thing, it was a good bet that sales figures would go through the roof. Wyobraźcie sobie, że tak jak, nie wiem, w prawdziwym życiu na forum War Thundera idą wszystkie militarne liki, to na przykład bierzecie w kiosku nowy numer detektywa, a tam są, nie wiem, właśnie najgorętsze newsy o koreańskim programie nuklearnym. Bo taki chyba będzie kolejny numer tego magazynu. He found a file folder full of early material and quickly flipped through it. It didn't take him long to find the article. Floundering Kokoshi Pharmaceutical arranges marriage of political convenience. The large headline practically jumped off the page. Mirukawa quickly read over the story. The basic gist of it was this. The corporate director of Okoshi Pharmaceutical had sacrificed his daughter in order to keep a researcher named Kenji Osawa on board. The daughter, however, had previously been dating another man. That must be what Osawa wanted him to look into. The guy his wife had been dating before they were married. It should be easy enough to just ask whoever had written the article. Nirikawa's gaze jumped to the end of the piece, looking for the writing credit. The piece had been written by Toyama himself. Hey, ain't you done yet? Sagawa yelled. Tell us where Toyama is already. Yeah, Minorikawa thought. We're going to need to do something about these guys. I'm still looking into it, he said. Just hold on. He made a show of opening and closing various desk drawers. The drawers themselves were packed with jumbled mess of electrical and gas bills, noodle house delivery menus, and the like. Look faster, Sagawa growled. Słuchajcie, najważniejsze pytanie. Czy zamawiamy nudle? Czy robimy to tylko naszym urokiem osobistym i wtykaniem polucha w twarz? To może być nieważny wybór, a może, wiadomo, Uber dostawca pojawić się na scenie, albo nie pojawić na scenie takiej scenki. Kto wie z tą grą? Kto wie? Ramen solves problem, yep. Maybe he could mollify this guy by having some noodles delivered for dinner. Hey, you guys hungry? I was thinking of ordering some soba. O, będzie soba, a nie ramen. Czy to... Czy to pomoże? Man, this ain't no time for that, Sagawa snarled. Besides, we just had some soba anyhow. And it was awful. Don't talk to me about noodles. Sagawa launched a shadow boxing session, as if trying to punch out the provider of his disappointing soba. The guy clearly had zero capacity for sitting still. Mirukawa had found the back issue of the gossip he was looking for. He still needed Chiaki's article though, and she wasn't quite finished yet. He had to buy some more time. By the way, he said to Sagawa, "Are you familiar with SOS?" SOS? The fuck, paused mid-jab. Yeah, SOS. I was planning on interviewing them later today. Hear they're some pretty tough guys. Huh. Only one of them would be able to give me a fight would probably be that Achi Endo. Except as I hear, he's left the gang. Nie wiem czemu tutaj ten tekst jest taki krzywy, w sensie stopniuje się w dół. Przypuszczam, że to ma jakiś jego akcent albo ton reprezentować, ale nie, może zmyślam, może to tylko tak ta ciągła perspektywa zdjęcia mnie tutaj pomieszała w głowie. Aha, really now? Heard anything else interesting? Sounds like nowadays they're being run by some guy named Susumu. The name Susumu rang a bell. These two young pines who had been arguing after the van explosion had mentioned him. Seems like SOS in a pretty rough state since Achi left though, Sagawa added. Minorikawa didn't miss a beat. What do you mean, rough state? Back in the day, they were all goody two shoes. Never shake falls down, or steal, or any of that stuff. Yet their founder Achi hated that sort of thing. But now that he's out, a lot of rough and tumble, hot-blooded types have been signing up with them. Smart move is not to get involved with SOS nowadays, really. Hard to find a scary bunch around here, when there's a lot of them together. And their main hangout. That's at Inferno, yeah? Yeah. Over in Ura Harajuku. Known as Urahara for short. The area east of the Japan Rail Harajuku station, around where Takashita Dori meets Meiji Chidori. There are many small clothing and accessory stores here, set up in renovated houses. Most of these shops are on the cutting edge of youth fashion, offering quirky and unique means of personal expression. Man, you've been listening out on the streets. What gives? Ura Harajuku, huh? Minorikawa smiled to himself. Inferno's location had practically fallen into his lap. Suddenly, Sagawa's eyes went wide. Aha! So that's where Toyama is. Wait, nah. No way a coward like him would go to a place like that. Jackie looked up from her keyboard. Look, can you please shut up? No, you shut up. That's my phone. Minorikawa pulled his cell out of his pocket. It was Toyama's name on the incoming call screen. Minorikawa's heart skipped a beat. Toyama? Where are you? He blurted out as he picked up. Chiaki, Ozu, and Sagawa turned to look at him as one. Well, what are you thinking? Faking your death like that? Even if you could fill those pages and postpone repayment, all it would do is delay the inevitable. I'd still be up to my ears in debt. So I thought if I made it look like I was dead... Minorikawa let out an exasperated sigh. Well, everybody already knows you're still alive. So your little attempt at subterfuge didn't even wind up buying you time. What? Yama's hysterical squeak was painful to hear. Alright, listen up, Minorikawa said. If it's the debt you're worried about, you'll be able to pay that back real soon. What do you mean? I've landed a huge scoop. You could do a print run of 1 million copies and still sell out, if you can run it as an article. Yama perked right up. Wait, you really mean it? I'll give you all the details. Just get your butt back here. But, aren't those loan sharks there at the office right now? Fine, then I'll come to you. Tell me where you are. The two thugs crowded nearer, predatory gleam in their eyes. And Minorikawa had a flash of inspiration. Got it, he said quickly, before Toyama could respond. Miyashita Park. I'm on my way now. Don't go anywhere. Ozu and Segawa grinned at one another, then bolted out the door. Heh, Minorikawa said as their footsteps receded. Those guys took the bait. I sent them to Miyashita Park. He allowed himself a cocksure grin. Right then. So, what are you really, Toyama? You imbecile! I am at Miyashita Park! What? Minorikawa fought the urge to pull his hair out. What the hell are you doing someplace like that? Why the hell did you tell them Miyashita Park? I thought it would be a clever ruse. Well, it wasn't. There's no time to be fighting. Chiaki butted in. Yeah, you're right. Minorikawa scowled. Anyway, Toyama. These guys are headed your way. We need you to get out of there and go someplace we can talk. I can meet you there. Right, okay. They needed someplace safe and public, where they could speak freely. Someplace where the staff wouldn't be overly nosy. But where? Minorikawa thought. Możemy wybrać. Buffalo Trek. Noodle House. Z menu, które widzieliśmy wcześniej. Teoretycznie nie wiemy, które, ale wiem, jak ta gra działa, więc jeśli byłby Noodle House, to byłby ten, gdzie sąsiadka Achiego przy Endo Electronics z tą babcią miłą pracowała. Albo Toyama should decide, co oczywiście jest, hej, autopick, złą opcję. Więc czy wierzymy w Cafe Lautrec, czy wierzymy w babcia Noodle House, moi drodzy? Też tak myślę, że Noodle House, bo Lautrec już swoją robotę zrobił. A że tak powiem, Noodle House nie po to zrobili plan zdjęciowy, żeby zrobić im jedną scenkę, która do tego nie była za bardzo niczego potrzebna. Ale gdyby mieli dwie scenki, to już byłoby poza tam łazić z ekipą. Recalling the Noodle House from the menu he'd seen earlier, he opted for that. Dogen hat, huh? Toyama rumbled the words under his breath. What's the matter? Is there some problem with that? Oh, no. Alright, I'll meet you there. It's over in Dogenzaka. The address is on the menu. He hung up, and Minorikawa quickly gathered his belongings. Chiaki, how's that copy coming along? Oh, well, almost done? Just a little more, I think. Alright, bring your computer and come with me. I'll read over what you've got so far. Minorikawa waited as Chiaki got ready to head to the cafe. O, Gierko, wybraliśmy Noodle House. Co to za kafe? Co to za... Czy naprawdę Gierka, która dostaje 40 od Famitsu, może sobie pozwolić na taką nieresponsywność? Napiszę recenzję na Steamie. As the two were heading out of the office, however, someone else opened the door. You've got 14 minutes and 57 seconds left to send to press. The writer submits to the editor. The editor submits to the designer. It is the next step in that whole handoff process. Naturally, being late for this causes quite a lot of trouble. 56. 55. A slender man with a gaudy necktie entered the room and sat down on the nearest desk, staring fixedly at his pocket watch. Nie wiem, czy pamiętacie tego kolesia. Pewnie nie. To jest jedna z tych rzeczy, których absolutnie nikt normalny nie ma prawa pamiętać, chyba że grasz w tą grę drugi raz. Jak mówię, jest pełno takich smaczków. W drugim, może trzecim streamie, wydaje mi się, że drugim, to był koleś, z którym Shinya Kano przegrał steering contest w pociągu. Mirukawa narrowed his eyes dubiously. Who the hell are you? Always make sure to show up 15 minutes ahead of the appointed time. That's just a common decency. The man gave no indication he'd even heard Mirukawa's question. I suppose I can wait here, he continued. Just for another 14 minutes? And 20 seconds. Mr. Mino? Is this guy talking about our submission? Jackie stared doubtfully at the newcomer. Hey you, Mirukawa asked. Are you from the printer? But the man did not reply. Don't ignore me. Are you from the printer? Still, the man remained silent. Mirukawa was furious. Look, cut the crap, he roared. In response, the man quietly reached into his suit pocket and pulled out his business card. My name is not Hey You. He handed the card to Minorikawa. It read, Cho Nippon Printing Co. Limited. Sales Department Division 1. Koichiro Katayama. I'm Koichiro Katayama, newly assigned to Heaven Publishing. A pleasure to meet you. My predecessor is in the hospital due to a car accident. Sachio Usui, 39 years old, single. A long-time veteran at Chio Nippon Printing. Rather timid by nature. The strain of dealing with publishers makes him sick to his stomach. At around 1:10 p.m. earlier today, while driving to meet with one of his clients, he had to swerve to avoid a young man and woman who darted into the street. He crashed into the car next to him and ended up at the hospital. Kiedy uciekaliśmy przed karawanem i kumplami. He should make a complete recovery in about 2 months. Well, what are you doing here, Katayama? Minorikawa asked. I thought we had until 8 o'clock to complete proofreading. 8 o'clock? Surely you must be joking. One company's proofing deadline is 5:30. Katayama stared fixedly back at Minorikawa. Now that had to be a joke. I heard from the editor-in-chief that it was 8 o'clock. I take that to mean then that you don't have any copy for us. It's not that we don't have it, Minorikawa said. It's just not finished yet. Just hold on until 8. Katayama raised an eyebrow. No. Publisher and printer need to work in concert. Perhaps my predecessor was the sort of to delay the proofing deadline owing to your circumstances here. But now I'm in charge, and I do not make exceptions. The proofing deadline is 5:30 sharp, and I intend to keep it that way. And while we've been having this discussion, we're down to 12 minutes and 32 seconds. Katayama held out his pocket watch as if to emphasize the point. That's ridiculous, Norikawa exclaimed. Just who the hell do you think you are? You guys are going to be printing a paper that I wrote. Do you even know how lucky that makes you? So just wait, okay? Just give us... Until 8 o'clock. To jest nasza, powiedzmy, oryginalna... That was the original understanding. It was unfair to change it now. Aby 3 dni to nas na pewno spławi. Until we're done to taki też trochę weak sauce spławiać. 8 o'clock, And where's your guarantee that you'll finish by then? We will. Just trust me. O, Valve Times, no... To byłby kruczek, którego się nie spodziewają. I'm supposed to heedlessly trust the word of a man I've just met? Katayama mused. We're down to 10 minutes and 46 seconds, by the way. Son of a bitch. Don't get all high and mighty just because you work for the printer. High and mighty. I'd say it's the people on the publishing side of the things that act high and mighty. Whatever high-minded claims you might make, without us, you'd have nothing to put on the store shelves. Forgetting that and blithely ignoring your proofing deadline makes for more work on your end. Just what are you getting at, I wonder? Now it's 10 minutes and 20 seconds. Miruka ground his teeth so hard he could hear it. His usual tactics were useless here. Katayama was simply too unflappable to be browbeaten. If he backed down now, though, it was a game over. 10 minutes and 7 seconds remaining. I realize there's still point, but I'll wait until the designated time. That's just common decency. Katayama's pet phrase. Papier na czole? No bo była ta scenka trochę bardziej napisana niż pokazana, że się komediowo zderzyła czołami z młodym jakuziarzem i był taki comedy headbutt i to jest jakiś taki kompres, wiesz, japoński. To był taki trochę w zasadzie, że jak nie patrzyłeś przez pół minuty na ekran, to przegapisz, bo to po prostu było tam zdanie teksta i potem ujęcie, że został bąk obolali, a Minrika mówił coś ważnego o plocie. Taki bardzo background joke. Katayama's pet phrase. Thus far, he has said, such as common decency, 3 times in this story. Always make sure to show up 15 minutes ahead of the appointed time. I realize there's a little point, but I'll wait until the designated time. There was one more. Do you know when and where it was? Tak, wiem. Kiedy był staring contest z Shinukano. Nie pamiętam, jak dokładnie poszedł ten tekst, ale na pewno był setup. Katayama's eyes were once again locked on his pocket watch. It was no use. Minorikawa couldn't find a way to talk this guy around. Jackie held her hand up. May I say something? Isn't it also common decency to not break a promise once it's been made? If you're referring to the 8 o'clock deadline, I was not the one who promised that. Maybe not, but I believe your predecessor's responsibilities become your responsibilities. Katayama crossed his arms and gave her a bemused look. What's your name, miss? Chiaki, she said bashfully. Chiaki Iso. The printer's expression brightened visibly. Good. That timid hesitation of yours is just splendid. You have none of the arrogance so typical among publishers. Huh? Chiaki was taken rather aback. In deference to your polite demeanor, I shall wait until 7 o'clock. That is the latest I can possibly allow. All right, Minorikawa shouted, practically in Katayama's face. We agree to those terms. No, I wasn't talking to you, but we've got terms of our own. Katayama reeled ever so slightly. I'm not certain you're in any position to set terms here. Just shut up and listen. From here on out, you're coming with us. What? Why? We're going to finish up our copy on site, and burn the data onto CD and hand it over to you there. That's why. Minorikawa wie. Przed wyruszeniem w drogę musisz zebrać drużynę. Katayama let out a sigh of resignation. Oh, very well. I suppose I'd simply be waiting here anyway. Minorikawa pumped his fist in victory. Alright, Chiaki. Go and copy the DTP data you've got so far onto your computer. Sure thing, Mr. Mino. Jackie quickly set about copying the data from the editing department desktop. Okay, done. Then let's go. Fuck yeah, companion get. With the others in town, Minorikawa headed for the noodle house where Toyama would be waiting. O, i tak jeszcze Toyamę pewnie zgarniemy do teamu. I w finał wjeżdżamy z całą ekipą. Na boss fight z Yakuzą. The soba restaurant Dogenhat was roughly halfway up Dogenzaka. Dogenhat, a long-standing noodle shop on Dogenzaka. 2 years ago, The owner passed away from illness. Now the restaurant is run by his widow, Maki Yoneda, and her two part-timers, Masa from Midoriyama Academy, and Mohinder, an Indian exchange student. Despite a sign billing the establishment as a soba restaurant, duck meat soba and chilled curry soba are the only two actual soba offerings. The rest of the menu, for some reason, is all udon dishes. And in fact, both kinds of soba are terrible. So maybe the chilled curry soba would be okay if someone else was making it. No to jest chyba implikacja, że jakusiarze byli w dokładnie tym soba house, żeby złapać swoją sobę. Inside, they encountered the proprietress near the door. She held a massive cleaver for cutting soba noodles, clutched in one hand. Toyama wasn't there. Excuse me, Mirikawa said. Has a middle-aged man come by your shop? Name's Toyama. The proprietress let out a weary sigh. That guy, huh? You folks know him? Yes, that's right. Then I'm sorry. I didn't want to have to do this. It was all his fault, though. You reap what you sow. Mirikawa didn't know what she was going on about. But suddenly he had a very bad feeling. So then, Toyama was here? He asked cautiously. Yes, he came by. Well, where is he now? Please tell me. No. I have no obligation to tell anything to friend of Toyama's. Evidently, there was some bad blood between Toyama and this woman. The real victim here is me. Her voice rose abruptly to a roar. Now listen up good to this old woman's story. I don't have time for this, Midorikawa thought. O, mam nadzieję, że to będzie Rohan Kishibe moment, że po prostu jest cała godzina flashbacków, a Mirkawa mówi nope, nie rozstajesz flashbacka, nie mam na to czasu. He needed to find Toyama as soon as possible. But instead, it looked like he'd be stuck hearing out this angry woman first. Alright, we're listening. Tell us your story. It's a long one. The woman's mouth twisted up, and she licked her lips, leaning in to tell her tale. Long ago, when I was still in my 20s, I would often make deliveries to Heaven Publishing. They were some of my best customers. Back then, they were so busy my employees practically worked themselves to death. You see, Dogenhat had the finest soba in Japan, and our spokesmodel was considered one of the most beautiful girls in the world. Back when this woman was in her 20s, Heaven Publishing hadn't even existed yet. But Minorikawa figures he'd better not correct her. It would probably just piss her off and make her stop entirely. He kept his mouth shut and listened to her silly tale. But anyway, that's all in the past now. As time went on, we had a lot of delivery customers asking us to put their bills on their tab. So much so, that it became a problem, and we changed our policy to disallow that sort of thing. But the fine folks of Heaven Publishing considered themselves an exception to that rule. And that put my part-timer Masa, who does the deliveries, in a bit of a bind. Okay. Oh, Masa's a student at Midoriyama Academy. A first-year student at Midoriyama Academy. After getting indigestion from eating too much parfait at a fast food restaurant on Center Gai, he was there with his girlfriend to do a dry run for a competitive eating contest. He wound up going to the restaurant 14 times in 1 hour. Unable to stand idly by, his girlfriend called an acquaintance of hers, the gluttonous Chiriko Osugi, for advice on improving Masa's intestinal fortitude. It turned out, however, that Chiriko was planning to compete in the same contest. Knowing that they were up against some monumental competition, the two continued the training wary of the battle to come. He took the day off to go on a date with his girlfriend. Here they're planning to compete as a couple in some ice cream eating contest that's going to air on TV. So they were going to a practice run together today. Honestly, how ridiculous is that? Honestly, I couldn't care less about Masa one way or the other, Minorikawa thought. This whole experience was turning into a real ordeal. So yes, we're in a real bind. I run a restaurant here, not a charity operation. I'd call and ask them to settle up, but they always insist, oh, we don't have any money. And that's a lie. It's got to be a lie. What else could it be? Otherwise, how do they keep making that magazine of theirs? Celebrity Confidential or whatever the hell it is. Celebrity Confidential was a weekly tabloid put out by one of Heaven Publishing's competitors. Yurika was just going to let that egregious mix-up slide. That's not all. The proprietress spat. Oh no! On top of that, their magazine's little gourmet gaps corner, or whatever they call it, ran scathing review of us. After that, customers started keeping their distance, and I aged 20 years, practically overnight. Gourmet Gaps was a column that ran in Celebrity Confidential. There was nothing of the sort in Forster General Gossip. This woman had clearly gotten the two magazines mixed up somehow. Awful. Just awful, isn't it? All I wanted to do was make soba for people to enjoy. And so, to be treated like this, to be treated like this. The woman had started to sob. The cleaver began to waver in her trembling hand. But then, earlier today, these two Yakuza-looking fellows came by. Said they were looking for Toyama from Heaven Publishing. That they saw one of our menus at his office and figured he might have come by. You were supposed to start soba, not sobbing, yep? A dlatego ich soba może być nie najlepsze. Zbyt słona. She had to be talking about Ozu and Sagawa. They'd both been nearby when Minorika was rooting through their desk drawers. They must have spotted the menu then. Told them he wasn't here and hadn't ordered delivery in some time. So they said that if I happened to see him, to give them a call. Oh, I was going to just turn them away. He looked like a pair of nasty loan sharks. Toyama would never be able to pay off his tab if they called him. So, I told them as much. The proprietress lowered her voice before continuing. But they said they'd be most appreciative if I could let them know. Even offered to pay his tab for me if I did. And well, that pretty much settled it. So I let them give me their phone number. Mirkowa's face went pale. This lady had been bribed by those two thugs? And so, I guess you figured it out. A little earlier, Toyama dropped by, looking like he was trying to lie low. So it all came together. I snuck out back and gave those two a call. So here we are. You guys were just a hair too late. Oh crap. Toyama had been carted off by the moneylenders. Mirikawa had to find him right away. Mr. Mino! Chiaki squeaked nervously. We have to hurry and go look for him. Yeah. Mirikawa and the others headed for the door. Wait! The voice sounded as if it had echoed from the very depths of hell. Minorika and company stopped in their tracks. You think I can just let you go? The old woman began to stalk towards them. Those guys, they left without showing their appreciation, or paying off that tab. They lied to me. So just who's going to show me the appreciation I'm owed? Who's going to pay that tab? We're all in this together, trying to play me for a fool. Hell have no fury like a woman's scorn. The proprietress lifted her cleaver high. Her eyes smoldered with inhuman rage. A murderous aura surrounded her like a bonfire wind. Wait, Minorikawa cried. We're Toyama's... his friends? Then prepare yourselves. You'll repay his debt to me with your lives. The three companions stood paralyzed with horror, watching their bloody doom approach. The blade glimmered in the dimness as she swung it toward Minorikawa. Time for some fresh meat. Minorikawa, Chiaki, and Katayama screamed, their cries echoing clear across the Genzaka. No niestety, trochę zbyt późno zgromadziliśmy naszą drużynę i była underleveled na tego opcjonalnego bossa. Tego chyba trzeba było wybrać Kefelo Trek. Ale to już za tydzień. Organizacyjnie powiem, myślę, że nam zostały może 2, pewnie 3 streamy. I trochę się tutaj ten elegancko 3-godzinny bloczek może zachwiać. Staram się tak w miarę równo robić, ale myślę, że za tydzień właśnie skończymy 17 i pewnie tak z połowy tej 18. Za 2 tygodnie tą 18 skończymy, żeby wejść w proper, wiecie, sekwencję finałową, ostatni rozdział, żeby tak już za jednym zamachem go zrobić. I właśnie potem to już tylko ten epilog i bonusowy stream z New Game Plus contentem, który trochę wymaga, żeby koniec zrobić do końca, żebym już off-stream zrobił tam wszystkie te requirementy, które nie były aż tak ciekawe, żeby je klikać online. Może na normalnym schedule'u, może jeśli będzie miał czas i będzie mi się śpieszyło do kolejnej gry, a trochę mi już świeżbi, to może ten specjalny content w jakiś ekstra dzień odpalę, jako po prostu DVD extra. Zobaczymy. W każdym razie widzimy się, mam nadzieję, w poniedziałek na Burdenka, albo we wtorek na więcej Shibui. Za tydzień raczej równe 3 godzinki, ale mówię, za 2/3 tygodnie mogą być właśnie zachwiania timeslotu, żeby tak się ładnie układało. Ale też to robię trochę na oko, bo jak widać, trochę gierkę też zaciśnie to wszystko, trochę to związuje bardziej tight, więc zobaczymy też w praktyce, w jakim tempie przez ostatnie rozdziały się przebijamy. A na razie do zobaczenia, koledzy.